Good morning. I am Kenyon McDuffie, at-large council member and chair of the council's Committee on Business and Economic Development. Today is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025, and we are convening this hearing in person in room 120 of the John A. Wilson Building, as well as via Zoom. The time is 9:57 a.m., and I'm calling this public hearing to order. Today, the committee will receive testimony on four measures: Bill 26-173, the Architect and Engineer Good Samaritan Amendment Act of 2025, Bill 26-254, the Contractor's Right to Stop Work for Non-Payment Amendment Act of 2025, Bill 26-421, Soul of the City Business Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025, and Bill 26-247, Anacostia Bid Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025. As a reminder, witnesses will have 3 minutes each to provide testimony and should remember to mute their microphones when they're not speaking if they're testifying virtually. As always, the committee invites all witnesses to submit written testimony on the council's website, the council's hearing management system page. We have about 40 people signed up to testify today. So once I've called names, I'm not going to return to those names. I want to be mindful of everybody's time, particularly the folks who made the trek down here in traffic to testify in person at the John A. Wilson Building. I'm going to call our in-person witnesses first and then move on to our virtual witnesses. And I don't see any of my colleagues who have joined, and so I'm going to get going with our first measure. And I appreciate everybody's understanding and patience and mindfulness of our time here today. Bill 26-173, the Architect and Engineer Good Samaritan Amendment Act of 2025, was introduced on March 10th, 2025 by Councilmember Charles Allen and referred to the Committee on Business and Economic Development on March 18th, 2025. As introduced, Bill 26-173 will provide limited civil liability in certain cases licensed architects and professional engineers who, in good faith and without compensation, render assistance at the scene of or in connection with a life-threatening emergency in the built environment, at the direction or approval of a federal or district official during a period of public emergency or within 90 days following the end of a life-threatening emergency in the built environment. I will begin with our one public witness who signed up to testify for this measure. Also note that there aren't any government witnesses for this measure. And for the record, the committee invited the board chairs of the Board of Architects, Interior Design and Landscape Architects, and the Board of Professional Engineers to testify today. However, due to time constraints, they were unable to provide testimony. Homeland Security Emergency Management Agency, or HSEMA, intend to submit a letter of support for this bill, as we understand it in the committee. And the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection submitted written testimony last night in support of the intent of the legislation. However, they raised a few minor concerns with the bill as drafted that we will raise during our question and answer on this measure. I'm going to call our one public witness. First name is Elizabeth, last name spelled Kovacevic, with the Washington chapter of the American Institute of Architects, who's testifying virtually. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us virtually this morning. You'll have 3 minutes to testify.
Great, thank you. And good morning, Chairman McDuffie and members of the committee. My name is Elizabeth Kovacevic, and I've called the district home for more than a decade, and I'm currently an advisory neighborhood commissioner for 4CO4. But today I'm here representing the Washington chapter of the American Institute of Architects as the advocacy committee chair and representing our 2,300 members. AIADC was founded in 1887 to advance the value of architecture and design in DC, and we strongly support the Architect and Engineer Good Samaritan Amendment Act. As a licensed architect with 10 years of experience practicing in the district and a resident of DC, I personally understand the critical role that architects and engineers play in ensuring public safety, particularly in the aftermath of natural and man-made disasters. Architects who choose to assist their local communities during emergencies should not have to be concerned about potential liability issues that may arise. When disasters such as earthquakes, floods, fires, storm damage, or other catastrophic events occur, the expertise of architects and engineers is vital in assessing the structural integrity of buildings and infrastructure to ensure the safety and well-being of communities. During such situations, a licensed architect may be exposed to questions of liability, even though they're acting in good faith. The lack of Good Samaritan laws in DC for architects and engineers exposes these qualified professionals to potential civil liability and discourages their ability to offer pro bono services during such critical times. Currently, the district is part of a small minority of jurisdictions that does not have a Good Samaritan law in place. 41 states, including Virginia and Maryland, have enacted similar laws. This bill provides a proactive measure that will benefit the residents of DC by ensuring they have access to the full range of expertise needed in an emergency. Rapid assessments by qualified professionals can prevent further damage, expedite recovery, and ensure that buildings and infrastructure are structurally sound after a disaster. This bill addresses these liability concerns by providing legal protection to architects and engineers who volunteer their expertise in emergency situations. To qualify for protection under the proposed legislation, professionals must be licensed and have completed the safety assessment program training or an equivalent standard established by the district. Our chapter has already trained 30 licensed architects who are ready to volunteer, and this is in addition to the 100 professionals in the DMV and over 1,800 nationwide. Architects in DC are willing to volunteer their time and services if asked by DC agencies to help ensure the preservation of our community's health, safety, and welfare. I urge you to enact this bill to ensure the residents of the DC can rely on the vital assistance of architects and engineers. AIA DC stands ready to work with you to get this bill across the finish line and to the mayor's desk. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
And thank you so much for your testimony this morning, Commissioner. I just have a few questions for you
Great.
that I'm sure you can answer based on your thorough testimony. The bill requires that 4 conditions be met for a licensed architect or licensed professional engineer to not be liable for any civil damages for acts or omissions resulting from the rendering of assistance at the scene of or in connection with a life-threatening emergency in the built environment. The first condition requires that the person acted either during a public emergency declared by the mayor or within 90 days following the end of the period for the life-threatening emergency in the built environment. Is this condition, in your opinion, too limiting to meet the intent of the legislation? Does this threshold exist in other jurisdictions?
I am unsure, I will say, if it exists in other jurisdictions. I think the intent of the 90 days is to provide enough time after an emergency, but I'm happy to follow up afterwards with more information on what other jurisdictions have in their
Okay, I
bills.
appreciate that. I look forward to your follow-up there. To your knowledge, have other jurisdictions incorporated additional professionals into their Good Samaritan laws to fully cover the range of voluntary expertise needed in an emergency? For example, the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection recommends in their written testimony the inclusion of land surveyors.
I am aware of other jurisdictions that do have included different professionals. Since I am not an expert in those fields, I can't say, the value of a land surveyor. I'm sure
Okay.
there's definitely value in it, but another thing I can follow up on.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you're not an expert there, but it'd be good to know whether you understand there to be any opposition or that there are other professions that might be included in other places. It might be worth just making that adjustment to the bill, and
Okay.
we'd love your input there. The Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection also raised that states like Missouri and New Hampshire have exempted the architects and engineers firms from civil liability. Do you recommend that the committee consider incorporating firms as well? DSLP, just to note before you answer, DLCP also stated that it's unclear if the legislation is limited to district licensed architects and engineers, and raised that the district may need to be assisted by professionals licensed in other jurisdictions during an emergency. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, my reading of the bill was that it was for licensed architects and engineers in general and doesn't limit to just the district. I think, which I feel is a better and wider range of architects. So if there is an emergency, you're drawing from a pool of 1,800 professionals that have been trained in the safety assessment program versus just the few that are district licensed. So
Okay. And that was a two-part question. So let me restate the first
I
part
missed the
though.
first part.
Yeah, the first part was there were states like Missouri and New Hampshire that have exempted the architects and engineers firms from civil liability. And I wanted to know if you recommended that we consider incorporated firms as well into this bill.
I am unsure if that's another thing I would like to follow up on afterwards, if
Okay.
that's okay with you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfectly okay. We'd
Okay.
definitely love to have your input on this. Okay.
Great.
All right. I don't have any additional questions at this time. Is there anything else that I didn't ask that you'd like to add to the record beyond what you already testified to?
I don't believe so.
All right. Well, I appreciate your testimony. We look forward to the follow-up in the areas where you're going to circle back with the committee.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care. The second measure that we're going to consider today is Bill 26-254, the Contractor's Right to Stop Work for Non-Payment Amendment Act of 2025. I introduced Bill 26-254 on May 19th, 2025, and it was referred to the Committee on Business and Economic Development on June 3rd of this year. As introduced, Bill 26-254 would prohibit clauses in construction contracts that preclude contractors or subcontractors from stopping work if they have not been paid for completed work within a reasonable time frame. It would also establish a procedure and a minimum timeline for contractors and subcontractors to provide notice of non-payment and intent to suspend work. I'm going to turn now to our public witnesses for this measure. And just for the record, for anybody who's watching, there are no government witnesses who signed up to testify for this measure. Adrian Smoot Edwards, D.L. Casey, Cindy Athey, and we'll go ahead and call, I think there's a virtual witness as well. Matt Defoe. And good morning to each of you. Thank you for joining us in person at the John A. Wilson Building this morning. Look forward to hearing your testimony. We'll begin with Adrian Smoot Edwards. Good to see you. And if you can hit the button at the base of your mic, you'll see a red light come on, which usually means stop, but this means go.
Okay. Thank you, Council Member McDuffie. As President and COO of Regeneracy, Inc., I am writing to express my strong support for the passage of Bill B 260254, the Contractor's Right to Stop Work for Non-Payment Amendment Act of 2025. This legislation is critically needed to protect subcontractors' financial stability from persistent payment delays. Passage of the bill will help ensure a timely and predictable payment cycle, allowing subcontractors to better manage cash flow between project draws. Subcontractors bear significant responsibilities, including discerning design intent, coordinating specifications and site logistics, acquiring materials, including payment of deposits, and managing personnel, safety, and productivity, all while managing collection processes to maintain workflow. Financial uncertainty is created when subcontractors lack visibility into the invoice processing cycle, have invoices held for reasons unrelated to their work, or are unaware of the project's overall financial condition. This uncertainty is compounded by issues such as constantly updated drawings requiring subcontractors to price and proceed to maintain the schedule, time and material changes that are often denied payment, and the extended wait to receive retainage from closed projects. The need for this financial reform is evident. The root cause of payment delays, whether due to the general contractor's processing time, the owner's review time, or issues with project financing amidst rising costs, is often unclear. However, the financial burden of financing the work falls almost entirely on the subcontractor. This struggle to collect causes mental strain and anguish and erodes the financial credibility of those of us who built their businesses. While this bill is a positive step, I believe it still needs refinement, as it currently allows too many days to elapse before a stop work date and imposes no timeline for retainage. I suggest further discussion with those of us directly affected by this legislation, coupled with a review of similar legislation enacted in other states such as Texas, California, New York, Florida, and Illinois. Comparing and contrasting these laws will help to develop a more enduring bill. And then we need to focus to enact the same laws for public work. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your time and testimony. Next.
Good morning, Chairman McDuffie and members of the committee. My name is Cindy Athey. I'm president of Precision Wall Tech, a commercial industrial painting wall covering based in Ward 8. I'm very proud to say that the CBE program has had a tremendous impact on Precision's development, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities. And as I speak today, we are down at Capital One Arena working. I'm here today because subcontractors urgently need a clear statutory right to suspend work without penalty when payment is unreasonably delayed. Cash flow is the lifeblood of a small and mid-sized.
I hate to interrupt, but can you pull your mic just a little closer? We're having trouble picking you up, folks, to hear. And bend it a little bit.
Is that
closer.
better?
If you can bend it.
Oh,
There you go. Perfect. Thank
let me start over. Are we good? Okay, cash flow is the lifeblood of a small and mid-sized subcontractor like mine. Our labor costs are paid weekly, our vendors' costs are paid monthly, and in many cases, our digital wall covering is due before we get the wall covering in-house. We continue providing labor, materials, and manpower, essentially financing the projects ourselves. The protection in the bill will make a real difference. Here are a few examples of how the current system impacts Precision Wall Tech. Currently, our receivables are running at the rate of 30% of our gross revenue. On top of that, most projects require 10% retainage being held until the project is closed out. That means that a total of 40% of our revenue is tied up in oncoming projects while we continue to expense real costs that we must meet on time. This year, our average receivables are running 104 days before payment. This is compared to an industry standard of 70 days. And if you see my exhibit that I listed, it's done by my CPA every year with reviewed audits. Many times our contracts are subject to paid when paid clauses, which takes away the significant control for the subcontractor. To stay on top of everything, we are focused to take significant administration costs to keep on track of our receivables and following up on our collections of money, which is already rightfully due ours. Precision proudly employs more than 80 men and women. Many of them have been with us 10, 20, even 30 years. Our ability to keep them working and train new apprentices and invest in local jobs depends entirely on predictable cash flow. When payments are stalled, it directly impacts the worker who builds our city as well as the companies that employ them. With this, I ask you, do you believe that the dynamic we are experiencing, is it fair or reasonable for a subcontractor to fund the project at the expense of its own company? If you believe as I do, I would like to see this bill passed, and it will strengthen the subcontractors community, supporting local projects, ensure a healthier and more equitable construction in the district. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
And thank you for your testimony. Next. If you can turn your mic off for us. There you go.
Good morning, Chairman McDuffie. I'm Ike Casey. I'm the retired Executive Director of the American Subcontractors Association of Metro Washington. But since I've been working on this issue and similar subcontractor issues for over 12 years, they allowed me to testify this one time. I think you're aware of how serious the cash flow issues are for subcontractors. Most subcontractors that make it have figured the system out, and they know how to get the money that they need in order to continue to work. But there's nobody here representing all the companies that have gone out of business because they've completed their work, they invoiced for the work, and they didn't get paid. And then when they went to the contractor and said, why don't I get paid? They said, well, we can't pay you for this reason or that reason. And they say, well, I'm going to stop work. And then the general contractor or the owner will say, in your contract is a statement, a clause that says if you stop work, you're in breach of the contract and you can be replaced or terminated from the contract. So that's what we're talking about today. And I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of that. We wish you could fix all the problems with construction, but that's the real reason that we're here today is just the fundamental reason of allowing subcontractors and contractors to get paid for work they've actually completed. And the reality today is the contract clauses are used as an excuse. And so the subcontractor's left holding the bag. Other states, as has been mentioned, have similar legislation. Pennsylvania, New York, California, Texas, Florida, and Illinois all have similar laws. And I went to all these states, to the subcontractor organizations, and asked for them to give me some stories of how it's worked or hasn't worked. And nobody replied except for one. And when in his reply, he made it clear why there's been no response. And that is the law itself prevents the problem. So once a subcontractor goes a couple of months and hasn't been paid, then if that subcontractor, if Adrian or Cindy goes to the general contractor and says, I'm going to stop work, the general contractor says, no, you can't, and they cite this new law that we're going to pass, then all of a sudden everything works. The money starts flowing, they find the money, they resolve the issues. But without this law, it stops. Everybody says you can't stop work. So this law will fix that problem. I do have an email that explains this in great detail from an attorney in Texas named Spike Cutler. Sounds like Texas, doesn't it? And he's got a long explanation. I'd be glad to send that to you. The current payment law, does provide protection for subcontractors in their relationship with the general contractor, but it does not explicitly allow contractors or subs to stop work for non-payment. That's why we appreciate that this bill has been introduced, and we ask that you vote favorably in its passage. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. I want to thank each of the witnesses for your testimony this morning. Just a couple questions for you all. It sounds like everybody testifies in favor of the bill. I know with Adrian Smoot-Edwards, your testimony, at least in part, focused on the issue of price and proceed, where you state that subcontractors are asked to update project-related drawings without pay. Can you describe those circumstances in a little bit more detail and how you believe specifically this legislation would address those types of issues?
Okay, so price and proceed situations occur when you're on a job site. Something's not on the drawings, but as you start building, you recognize, or the owner recognizes, that a change needs to occur in order for the current schedule to keep moving. So they'll provide drawings, ask you to price them, and then tell you proceed with the work while they negotiate those dollar amounts. Well, you get several of those going on a project, and suddenly the subcontractor is pricing 4 or 5 change orders that are still pending with no resolution. We can't build the work, but we're using our resources to make sure the project moves forward. What this legislation I hope we'll do is we get to a point on a change order and it hasn't been resolved, which means we can't bill for it, that we should be able to stop work while they work that out. Like figure out whether you can afford the change, whether or not you need to change the design to make it more fit into your budget.
Mm.
But the point is, we don't get to the end of the project where sometimes what happens is subcontractors are asked at the end of the job, everyone's in, 50 cents on the dollar.
Right. So let me ask a question. In those circumstances, is the work that you're asked to do that wasn't a part of your original scope
Correct.
not additional work, not within the contract? If you were to stop that, why could they look at the contract and say, well, there's a clause that says you can't stop work?
Because you've been told to proceed.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And if you're told to proceed, your reading of the agreement
And
that you
now
currently
it
signed.
falls underneath the like it has all the rights and responsibilities that are in that contract
Mhm.
fall into it. So we're now proceeding as if we're under our same contract to keep moving.
And that's the contract between the GC and the sub, not necessarily the contract between whoever the prime GC is and the actual, if it's DC government, for example.
Correct.
Got it.
Because in their opinion, the reason they don't give us the change order and don't allow us to bill is that it's not part of their contract yet until the owner gives them something that says it's part of their contract. But for us, it's price and proceed, because if suddenly while they're building this room, which is in the contract,
Yeah.
there's something in the ceiling that's in the way,
Mhm.
that thing needs to be removed so that the base contract can continue.
Right.
So they tell you, well, go ahead, price to remove whatever that obstacle is, and we'll handle it on the back end.
Right. And you're doing the work. You got a team, you're responsible for paying that team.
Yes,
Maybe this big prime GC can sustain itself, but you as a sub perhaps don't have the same resources.
right, because that GC isn't expending the money to make
Right.
that situation resolve itself.
Right.
We are
You are. And then you're gonna be waiting for the GC.
waiting, well, we submit the price to the GC.
Right.
The GC might be in a situation where the owner's like, well, we've got several change orders,
Yep.
so we're gonna create one great
Yep.
big massive package.
And then they'll say, we'll pay when we're paid.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they'll issue us then a change order
Right.
that allows us to bill it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're still subject to, well, even though we might have done this work 6 months ago, by the time we're actually legally able to bill it is at the point at which the general contractor gives us a change order. Then we're still subject to, once we bill that, there's 60 to 90 days before we see that money. So we're talking like almost 9 months.
Right.
But in other
What
cases,
happens during the 60 to 90 days for people who are at home watching and interested in trying to understand this?
it's very interesting. We're still trying to figure it out too.
Okay.
But what happens is we submit our invoice to the general contractor.
Mhm.
The general contractor is now collecting from several subcontractors and lump summing that invoice to provide to the owner.
Mm-hmm.
The owner then reviews it, goes back to the general contractor, and he might say, oh, the electrician is billing too much. So now the whole thing gets kicked back
Mhm.
while they resolve it with the electrician. In the meantime, the rest of us are still working. They finally figured out that could be another 10 to 15 days. So now we submit our invoice to them on the 20th. They get the invoice to the owner by the 30th. Now they've got the dispute that might make that discussion last until the 15th. Then they agree on the payment amount of the invoice. And then the owner probably then has to go to whoever the banker is that's handling it. And they start that process all over again. In the meantime, we're still working. So by the time they might get to an agreement on the invoice, it's now the 30th of the following month. And then for whatever reason, they're allowed 30 more days to actually process the payment. Then the general contractor gets paid. Then he has up to 7 days to pay us. And if you're a company like mine, if they don't pay you by ACH, but they give you a check, the bank then holds the check for either 2 to 10 days, depending on the dollar amount of that check and whether or not you've ever deposited money from that
Right,
before,
right.
before we get our money.
Right. Well, that's helpful to know, and I think it sort of demonstrates how inefficient the process can be sometimes, and frankly, the impact it can have on subcontractors.
Yes, especially those of us that don't have lines of credit.
Yep. I see you had your hand raised, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what Adrian's saying. And then my report where I've got my receivables running.
Yep.
That doesn't include the change orders. Some of the change orders on finished trades are held throughout the job, and they call throughout the entire job. The bigger job you do, sometimes it could
You
last a
said
year.
finished trades. You want to explain
Finished
what this-
trades meaning painting, drywall, carpentry. Is what I mean. It's, and they hold it all the way through the job, and at the end, they do a global settlement across the board. And that's where, whether you get 50 or 60% on the dollar on the change orders. So it's really never settled a lot of times until the end of the job.
Got it.
And my reflection on my receivables does not have that in there. My receivables are just simply the contract.
Yep. Okay. And then I thought you may have mentioned, I think this was Adrian Smooth Edwards, some areas where you thought the bill might be refined. You want to talk about that a little bit? And I'll ask the same question of the other two witnesses, if there are areas that you think might be refined a bit. If you can turn your mic on.
Yeah, and looking at the bill, it's still about 75 days for us. So even though what this bill is saying is that, okay, you haven't been paid in 30 days. You give the notice to the GC that I intend to stop work if I'm not paid within the next 30 days. And then once we give that notice, it's then another 10 days for them to respond or whatever. So now we're back in the same boat that we're in the first place, and that we're waiting an exorbitant amount of time before we can get to the point where we can physically stop work.
Got it. Thank you for that. Again, I think this was directed towards Adrian Smoot Edwards, but your testimony also mentions that additional legislation should be enacted to address public work.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about any similar challenges your businesses face while working on public projects?
Okay, so I'm gonna give one example of one project I was working on for the district. We did the work as part of a summer blitz situation. And we got to the end and I'm like, okay, look, I haven't been paid anything on this yet. When am I going to get paid? And they say, oh, the PO hadn't been approved yet. So I'm like, wait a minute, you just told me to go to the school, get a whole bunch of work done. And you're telling me that the PO wasn't even funded yet for me to be able to get paid for it. So I think for public work, we also run into a situation where they do bundling again with change orders. So if it needs to go back for more funding, or that money's not in this fiscal year, it's going to be in the next fiscal year when that much money can be released. We need the ability to be able to say, stop, fix your budget, and then tell us to come back and do the work when you have the money available to pay us once that work is complete.
Got it.
I think all too often, the goal is, well, we got to get the schools open, we got to get the building open.
Yep.
And you know you're going to get paid eventually, and that just doesn't
I want to hear from you, Casey, but unfortunately I forgot to hear from Matt Defoe, who's virtual. And so I want to hear your testimony and then we'll come back to, so hold that thought, maybe jot it down because I want to hear it. But I want to give Matt Defoe 3 minutes to provide your testimony and then loop you into some of these questions that I'm asking as well. So you can begin your testimony. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you loudly and clearly.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, good morning still. Chairman McDuffie and members of the committee. My name is Matt Defoe. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Associated Builders and Contractors of Metro Washington. We represent over 600 firms, suppliers, and other professionals in the construction industry. And for the purpose of this hearing, this includes both general contractors and subcontractors. I first want to say, thank you for addressing this issue. It impacts the contractors up and down the contracting chain, and prompt payment is a very important issue. As mentioned, the cash flow issues that are happening within the district is well known. So that, you have my testimony that I submitted, where we, polled a majority of our members about this bill. And with some of the input, they identified 3 areas of not, concern, but just areas of clarification. So we're in a neutral position on this bill where we just want to be part of the conversation that you were just having, and want to work toward a good agreement. I lay out the 3 issues, and one actually was just addressed here with the ASA representative on, if this bill would have impact on existing contracts, construction contracts. So we believe it will not. However, as stated, I just really appreciate the opportunity to testify and that we can really address the issue on prompt payment, particularly by owners and lenders, making sure that our contractors and subcontractors are paid in a timely manner. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll give you back some of my time and be more than welcome to stick around and be part of this conversation.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your testimony. We also have your written testimony as well. I think we left off with Mr. Casey had a comment you wanted to make. If you can turn your mic on.
You mentioned at one time the pay if paid situation. And right now in DC, there's really no provision for pay if paid. So if that were added to the legislation, it would make it stronger. And by pay if paid, your payment cannot be contingent on payment from the owner or the bank or whoever. It's not a contingent payment. That is another clause that's in most contracts in the DC area. And so when a subcontractor calls the general contractor and says, "Where's my money?" and they say, "Well, we haven't been paid," there's nothing to do about it. So this would give, again, it doesn't disrupt things because nobody's going to, go to the nth degree to deal with it, but it does force people to start getting their ducks in a row to get payments made.
Got it. Thank you for that. Anything else from any of the witnesses before we move on to the next bill?
No, I want to concur with what they're saying
Mhm.
with the bill. The public would be an added plus. And I also want to say that the general contractors are also saying they're going to pay people early, but which is fine, but they're also asking for 2% of our contract back because we need the money, which again is somewhat unfair.
So, and by early, they mean,
Either 30 days or 2 weeks. I don't, different contractors have it laid out a certain way, general contractors.
but it is after you've already done the work.
Yeah, and but you got to give them back 2% or 3%, whatever they ask for, which is how they're dealing with the situation that keeps us going.
So technically, is early, by early, do they generally mean they'll pay you before they've been paid? But not necessarily early in the sense that they're not giving you anything before you've done the work.
Right,
the work
no, they're not, they're
Right.
not asking, they won't deposit any money unless
Right.
you've done the work, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I appreciate you putting that on the record too.
All right.
I think that's all the questions that I have for you all. If you all have any additional follow-up, feel free to reach out to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now going to turn to our third measure on the agenda for the committee. This morning, it's Bill 26-421, the Soul of the City Business Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025. The bill was introduced by Councilmember Trayon White and myself on October 6th, 2025, and it was referred to the committee on October 21st, 2025. As introduced, the bill would authorize the establishment and administration of the Soul of the City Business Improvement District. I'm going to turn now to our public witnesses, and we have several, some of whom have joined us in person. We'll begin with Monica Ray. Richard Bradley. I'll make a call. I don't see him here, but Ronald Moten. Salim Adolfo, I also don't see present. Stephanie Foe. Okay. Dion Reader is here, so you can come forward. Good morning to each of you. Thanks for joining us at the John A. Wilson Building this morning. Look forward to hearing your testimony. We'll begin with Monica Ray and go down the line.
Good morning, Chairman. I'd like to say I'm joined by Landis Mazenor, who is our urban planner for the bid.
Didn't sign up to testify.
He's not testifying. He's here for questions if you have some.
Well, can we call him up if we need him? I want to use that chair for somebody else who's here. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna make another call for Tyrone White. How about Jewel Gorham? No, Jewel Gorham. Alyssa Abubaker.
Elias.
Is that the first name?
Mhm.
Apologies. All right. And if you don't mind, you can say your name for the record so I get it correct. Okay, got it. Elias. Thank you for being here in person, Elias. We have that misspelled on the agenda. It's here. And we'll be sure, if we have questions, that we'll make sure we call them up. We'll slide a chair up or something. Okay. Again, we'll begin with Monica Ray.
Good morning.
You begin testimony.
Good morning. I am Monica Ray. I am president of the Congress Heights Partnership, and I am honored to be here to testify before you today in strong support of the legislation to establish the Soul of the City bid. For nearly 10 years, the Congress Heights Partnership has served as the placemaking organization for this community, long before we thought of a bid, and long before anyone else believed this level of coordination, investment, and vision was possible for these communities. And if I may, I'd like to begin with the secret sauce that makes this moment not only possible, but powerful. The partnership is built on a unique model of collective capacity, a community development corporation, an award-winning Main Street, community associations, and now, with this legislation, the muscle and guaranteed revenue of the Business Improvement District. Together, these entities form a coordinated place-based engine capable of planning, executing, and advocating and maintaining these corridors that make up this district. This is not theoretical. This is not an aspirational coalition. This is a structure we have proven year after year, block by block, business by business. For the past decade, the partnership has been in every corner of these corridors, supporting more than 600 small businesses through technical assistance, permitting help, facade improvements, financing referrals, and marketing support. Building authentic relationships with property owners, entrepreneurs, residents, and emerging developers. Capturing data, convening stakeholders, and giving voice to long-standing concerns about vacancy, safety, blight, and disinvestment. And most importantly, holding space as a trusted intermediary to strengthen the ecosystem that exists here despite decades of structural neglect. We have been the ones smoothing the ground for something smart, larger could take root. This proposed bid is a natural evolution of that work. The Soul of the City bid is structured intentionally using a non-traditional shape that brings together commercial corridors in the southernmost areas of Ward 8 that have been historically undersupported, under-resourced. Alabama Avenue, Martin Luther King Avenue, Wheeler Road, South Capitol, Southern Avenue. These corridors are not disconnected. They are a network of commercial lifelines whose struggles mirror one another and whose futures are deeply intertwined. The bid allows us to finally knit together with sustained, professionalized management, guaranteed revenue, and a clear mandate to improve safety and cleanliness, support and grow small businesses, enhance marketing, branding, and identity, coordinate corridor-wide development efforts, and elevate the quality of life for our residents. This legislation opens the door for a level of coordination and consistency that this community has never had access to, not because of lack of vision, but because of lack of tools. And that's why this bid matters. It gives us the tools that match the scale of challenge. As president of the partnership, I want to be clear. We are not here to create a bid that operates in isolation. We're here to create a bid that operates in alignment with our CDC, revitalizing assets, with our Main Street, strengthening small businesses, with our community associations giving voice to residents, and with developers and property owners who are committed to equitable place-based growth. We are here to ensure that the growth happening here is strategic, coordinated, and beneficial to the people who already call this community home. For decades, we watched other parts of the city receive investment as a matter of course, while this area was asked to wait just a little longer. We're done waiting. We have the plan, we have the partners, we have the governance, and we have the commitment of property owners and local businesses. All we need now is your approval to unlock this final piece, the sustained revenue and structural authority that only a bid can provide. Chairman, the Soul of the City bid is not merely an economic development tool. It's a corrective tool, a mechanism to finally address longstanding inequities of land use, corridor maintenance, and economic investment in Ward 8. It's a community stewardship tool, grounded in a decade of relationship building and place management that Congress Heights Partnership has already been delivering. And it is a future building tool, ensuring the major public and private investments coming to these neighborhoods translates to thriving commercial corridors, viable small businesses, and strong neighborhood identity. This is the moment we've been working for a decade. We are ready, and with your approval, we'll finally have the comprehensive infrastructure it needs to become the thriving, walkable, economically viable community our residents deserve. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
And thank you for your testimony. Next,
Good morning, Chairman McDuffie.
if you can hit the button on the base of your mic. There you go.
Good morning, Chairman McDuffie. I'm Rich Bradley, a 40-year resident of the district and the principal of the Urban Partnership Consultancy. I'm going to depart from my submitted remarks and mostly to echo, I think, what you just heard in many respects and really support the kind of innovation that Monica is talking about in terms of what this will mean to Congress Heights and what it means, I think, not only to Congress Heights and Ward 8, but to the city. It represents a new model. So obviously, I'm here today to enthusiastically support the passage of this legislation to establish the Soul of the City Business Improvement District in Congress Heights. I think it will reach new levels of effectiveness for bids, and it will be judged in different ways and will force a rethinking, I think, of many other bids throughout the city. As you may know, I helped establish the downtown DC bid in 1997 and served as its executive for 17 years. I have subsequently assisted in the formation of many other bids. And that's why, in some respects, I feel I'm comfortable providing this kind of support and endorsing the kind of innovation of this program. The plan for this new program, which was developed under the guidance of Monica, her dogged and creative leadership was essential to this, provides not only for the basic services that all bids provide, enhanced maintenance, beautification, security, activation, but it's an organizational centerpiece intended to complement and coordinate the functions of related community development organizations like the CDC, like the Main Street Program, like the Congress Heights Partnership, like the Civic Association. This imaginative collective effort will serve to accelerate the continuing dynamic, equitable transformation of this ever more important part of DC and in particularly its impacts in Ward 8. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your testimony. Next, turn your mic off. Mr. Bradley, let her turn. There you go. Perfect.
Good morning, Chair. It's always good to see you. My name is Dion Reeder. I am honored to testify in strong support of the Congress Heights Soul of the City bid. I currently serve as a board member and longstanding member of the Anacostia bid. I am the Chief Executive Officer for the Far Southeast Family Strengthening Collaborative, which is located within the Anacostia bid footprint and has been a committed supporter of the led revitalization. I am pleased to support this application for several important reasons. First, the opportunity to have two bids in Ward 8, both anchored along one of the most historic and meaningful corridors in the district, Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. Two Black women leading businesses, driving a movement of economic development and shifting our community from poverty to prosperity is historic. They are opening doors to opportunities, strengthening families, and transforming a corridor that for decades was overlooked and forced into cycles of disinvestment and inequity. Their leadership on a street named after one of our greatest champions for Black communities makes supporting this bid not only easy, but necessary. Second, as a business owner in Congress Heights, I have personally witnessed the level of investment, courage, and vision required to elevate Black women-owned businesses. Through the Black Bone Project, Black women entrepreneurs, myself included, have received the technical help, business training, and mentorship needed to build, grow, and sustain our enterprises. Even in times when Black women are facing the most challenging, significant challenges ever in time. With the support of the Congress Heights Training and Development Corporation, I was able to develop a solid business plan, analyze data, and position my business for long-term success. Today, as one of the proud owners of Dion's Bar and Dion's Good Food, we employ 7 full-time staff persons, 3 part-time staff persons, and 7 gig workers, nearly all district residents. I know that when Congress Heights is granted this opportunity to become a bid, these opportunities will double, allowing even more community-based businesses to thrive and serve as platforms for economic development and mobility. Finally, the Congress Heights Training and Development Corporation has earned this moment. 3 years ago, 13 anchored residents of Ward 7 and 8 and 1 store featuring 10 products created by Black women opened the doors to Sycamore and Oak. This groundbreaking project was the result of the vision, strategy, and leadership of Monica Ray, whose dedication to this community spans more than 30 years. While she could have used her accomplishments for personal advancement, she chose to instead to invest in the community she loves, ensuring that Ward 8 residents have access to amenities, opportunities, and pathways to grow. She has created a model where businesses are incubated, residents are trained, and resources circulate within the community to break barriers and build people. I not only support the Soul of the City application, I also ask this question: what took us so long to recognize this is the model that's exactly what develops people and strengthens communities? Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
And thank you so much for your testimony. Next.
So my name is Elias Abu Baker, and also residents in the St. Elizabeth East, and I own the coffee shop with my wife, Bunato Cafe in Sycamore and Oak. And this bid mean to us is it will has given us already is technical support and also marketing, financial support. And we were dreaming opening coffee shop while we were living there. And also this Monica Ray and her community in Congress Heights Training Center have helped us to open our first coffee shop. And this bid will help us to expand our coffee shop at the different corner of the city and also within that community. So currently is we have been learning, educated, and also be able to go to next steps by support of Congress Heights Training Center and also Monica Ray with the upcoming Soul Source bid. And thank you very much.
And thank you so much for taking time away from your schedule to come down and put that onto the record. We really appreciate it here at the committee.
And what I want to add is also we have 3 boys live in the community. Also, this will help them to engage and also serve the community and also as to grow. And when I was a kid, I grew up in Oxon Hill, not far from it. And also, this is what I want my kids to establish their future.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for adding that to the record. I also want to take a moment to commend Monica Ray on the work that you've done thus far to establish the soul of the city bid. While not law yet, I think your efforts have been considerable and are certainly commendable thus far to create this bid. And so we appreciate your dedication. I think we heard from other witnesses about some of the economic successes that your work has contributed to, and I'm sure will continue in the Congress Heights community. But I do have a couple of questions. If this bid were approved and goes into effect before the next tax year, what are some of the key initiatives that you all could expect to see implemented by the bid?
Sure. Thank you for those kind remarks. We have three huge priorities out the gate. One is to socialize the concept of a bid, to show our value and the value add that a bid brings to the community, followed closely by increasing our clean and safe activities. As you know, we have an ambassador team that exists now that are doing pockets of work along the borders of the district, but to expand those clean and safe teams and to make sure that we are looking at environmental safety as well. We have lots of brush that we need to brush back for safety improvements along the district. And then third is to continue to build and expand our brand and marketing to increase foot traffic to the district.
Thank you for that. The bid creation process also involves an application with the mayor of the District of Columbia and the Department of Small Local Business Development. What's the status of those proceedings?
Sure, we're in process now. We're actually on our second round of reviews. We expect that to go smoothly. We've had three petitions. None have been invalidated, but three people signed on the wrong lines. So we're working to get those corrected, but we expect that to be really smoothly and hopefully certified by the first week in January.
Okay, sounds good. The Office of Tax and Revenue requested that the implementation of the bid tax be delayed until October 1, 2026 to allow sufficient time to implement the legislation for the new tax year. Why is it important that the bid tax goes into effect for the 2025 tax year?
It's important because this community needs investment today. We've waited decades for this moment. You've heard in my testimony earlier that it's taken us 10 years to reach a point where we had collective power to apply for this bid. And we really can't afford to wait one more day. There are small businesses that need our investment right now. There are facade improvements that need to happen yesterday. So we don't need to delay to October. We're prepared, we're ready to stand this bid up, and we'd hope to get it done this spring.
I appreciate that. I think one of the things that stands out from the testimony is how important it is for the Congress Heights and the extended community around Congress Heights to have this sort of support, right? Which is different from some of the supports it's gotten in the past. Business Improvement District is not new concept to the District of Columbia. We have business improvement districts in other parts of our city, including in Anacostia. We'll hear from them next, but we certainly have them in downtown, Golden Triangle, Noma. I want to direct this question to Mr. Bradley. Your thoughts and given your experience and background, how important is it to have a bid model be implemented, and what could it potentially mean for the Congress Heights community?
I think it's
If you can come just a little closer to the mic so we can pick you up.
I think it's an immense recognition of all the changes that take place. What's going on in Congress Heights today is transformative. The scale of investment is billions of dollars. That some of that is campus-like structures. The issue now is to bring that to the streets and bring it to the people. So my sense is here that what this does, as I said, is to kind of give the same credibility to what goes on in Congress Heights that goes on in downtown or any other areas you talked about, that this is as valuable as important. And much of the work of this bid is going to be, besides the direct services and the coordinative effects, is the kind of branding and communication. It's the telling of a story. And then why this organization is called the Soul of the City Bid is that it represents a spirit that has too long been contained, but now needs to be shared elsewhere.
Yeah, and I'll pose some of the question to Dion Reeder. businesses established you've had in Ward 8. You run a collaborative in Ward 8 now, but you're obviously no stranger to other parts of the city, having grown up, I believe, in other parts of the city. I'm sure you have experiences with doing business in other parts of the city. What does it mean for this community to have a business improvement district relative to what we've seen in other parts of the city, investments made in other places? Why is it so important for this to happen now?
I can speak from two perspectives. One, I had a restaurant in Ward 8 before, prior to Christina coming on as the Anacostia bid director there, and I didn't get any support. I ran a business completely ignorant. We made it work, but that's not how businesses should be ran. It wasn't until I had the opportunity to be a part of the movement in Congress Heights, being a resident in Ward 8 before, living east of the river, people thinking I know because I run a nonprofit, but not knowing what it's like to actually build revenue and pay other people's salaries. Having that experience was taught to me through my experience as an entrepreneur through Congress Heights. With the investment that I've seen in our development, the foundation is what is so remarkable for me. The model that I've learned to sustain in Congress Heights, I can pick it up and take it anywhere in this city. Columbia Heights, where I grew up, Ward 5, Fort Lincoln, where I bought my first house, because now I understand how to stand up a business in a community where I love. So for me, the benefit goes beyond just having the branding and the marketing. I pretty much have learned how to do that and have a lot of support. But what I've learned that's second to none is how to let my business work for itself and sustain in the midst of a crisis that we see more often than not in our city.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Although the business you had on MLK closed, can people still get those crab fries?
Can they get them? You
Yeah.
can come and get them at about 11 o'clock today. Thank
So when
you.
you ask a question, you know the answer to already. You still have that recipe going, so I appreciate that. I want to thank this panel for their testimony. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to turn to our next panel, public witnesses for this bill. We can have Stephanie Campbell here. Dan Tangerlini, saw earlier, is here. Mona Barber is also here. And Commissioner Joseph Johnson is online virtually. So we'll hear from Commissioner Johnson virtually. Let me. Good morning to each of you. Thanks for your patience and for joining us in person at the John A. Wilson Building this morning. We'll begin with Stephanie Campbell.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Campbell, and I serve as the Executive Director of Prospering Places, formerly known as the Congress Heights Community Training and Development Corporation. Today, I come before you in full support of the Soul of the City Business Improvement District. The creation of this bid will bring Congress Heights a vibrant, sustainable, and self-sustaining clean commercial corridors. It will unite all of our neighborhoods, including Southern Avenue, Willow Road, Bellevue, South Cap, and the Congress Heights and its Main Street, under one coordinated effort. The Soul of the City bid will have the structure and capacity to maintain our corridors, keep them clean, provide safety, and deliver technical assistance to small businesses that are the backbone of our community. We are already seeing long-awaited economic development in Congress Heights and Ward 8. We now have the entertainment and sports arena on St. Elizabeth's East Campus, the amazing Sycamore and Oak, Whitman Walker, the Max Robinson Center, the new Cedar Hill Regional Medical Center, and we have some anchors like Giant on Alabama Avenue, who all need our continued support. On the Bellevue corridor, we have thriving businesses that too often feel overlooked and left out, along with many others on Southern Avenue and Willow Road. The Soul of the City Business Improvement District will be the force needed to bring these areas together, strengthen them, and provide the technical support, back office assistance, and facade improvements to our Ward 8 businesses that they need and deserve. As the Director of Prospering Places, where we run the Destination Congress Heights Main Street program, I firsthand see the differences and even small improvements we make, like installing LED lights above storefronts, having the clean team do multiple sweeps different times of the day, hosting events like Jazz on the Ave, activating public space through placemaking, and producing events like Art All Night. I have seen how these efforts bring the community together and demonstrate how vibrant our corridors can truly be As a long-term Ward 8 resident, I know that the thoughtful economic development and what it can do. I also know what is at stake if we don't act now. The Soul of the City Business Improvement District is the structure and the support and coordinated leadership we need to continue this progress. I respectfully ask you, Chairman, to support the Soul of the City bid. This is the change we need, and it's truly now or never. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you for your testimony. Next.
Good morning, Chairman McDuffie. It's good to see you. My name is Dan Tangerlini, and I'm here on behalf of STE 15 LLC, a real estate development partnership that is working to build a 650,000 square foot mixed-use development on parcel 15 of the St. Elizabeth's East Campus. Popularly known as Sycamore and Oak, during the 2.5 years of operations, our interim retail village has welcomed nearly 200,000 visitors, provided space for 20 hyper-locally sourced Black-owned businesses, and hosted 250 events of all sizes each year. This weekend, we'll be sponsoring the 6th annual Go-Go Santa celebration. And if you haven't been to a Go-Go Santa, you really haven't celebrated the holidays. The retail village is currently the largest freestanding mass timber building in the immediate DMV. It was built by a local minority contractor, Banneker Ventures, with almost exclusively MWBE subs. And as we speak, we're completing one of the district's first solar microgrid installations. We'll begin generating most of our energy for our all-electric building on site and provide electric car charging for our visitors and guests. In short, in partnership with the community and our nonprofit partner, Prospering Places, the former Congress Heights Community Training and Development Corporation, we've built something that is not only unique in Ward 8, but is demonstrating a new standard of possibility and expectation across the district and beyond. Sycamore and Oak is so transformative, it has been recognized with multiple industry-wide awards. Great things can happen in our too frequently overlooked communities. And that is why I'm here today to lend my support for creating the Soul of the City bid. Our east of the river communities deserve, actually need, the same opportunities, support, and structure that we give the sections of the city with more power and investment. Recently, much necessary attention has been paid to the sections of the city that have suffered from post-COVID demand changes and those that host or will host important sports venues. However, we cannot let that distract us from what needs to be done to continuously promote opportunities in neighborhoods east of the river. I urge the council to approve the Soul of the City Business Improvement District because it is a smart, community-driven, and long overdue investment in Ward 8's economic future. With the bid in place, we can continue efforts to match the scale of opportunity with the scale of the community's potential. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for your testimony. Next.
Good morning, Chairman McDuffie and members of the committee. My name is Ramona Barber, and I'm a lifelong resident of Congress Heights. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in strong support of the Soul of the City Business Improvement District. As someone who has lived, worked, and raised a family in Congress Heights, I have seen firsthand the incredible potential of our community and the gaps that have too often held us back from equity growth. The Soul of the City bid presents a transformational opportunity to bring long overdue investments, safety enhancements, small business support, and beautification efforts that our neighborhood deserves. The bid is not about replacing the character of Congress Heights. It is about uplifting it. It will help create clean, vibrant, and welcoming corridors, strengthen our local businesses, attract new opportunities, and generate sustainable economic value that directly benefits residents. Most importantly, the Soul of the City bid is built with community voices at the center, ensuring that development reflects the needs and aspirations of the people who call the neighborhood home. As a lifelong resident deeply committed to the future of Congress Heights, I wholeheartedly support the legislation. I believe the bid will bring the structure, resources, and accountability needed to move our community forward in a way that is inclusive, equitable, and rooted in local leadership. Thank you for your time and for your attention to the needs of Ward 8 residents. I respectfully urge the council to advance the Soul of the City Business Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025.
Thank you each for your testimony. I really appreciate it. How do you think? Oh, that's right. Thank you for catching that. I want to hear from Commissioner Johnson. who's online joining us virtually before we jump into our question and answer. Commissioner, thanks for joining us virtually. You can begin your testimony. Okay, looks like we lost Commissioner Johnson. So I'll just jump into question and answer. We've got some representation from Main Street, which I'd love to hear how you envision the bid complementing the work that you all are doing at the Main Street, but also, Ms. Tanglini, given your experience, I think in government, but also with Sycamore and Oak, which is extraordinarily popular. I know my wife and I spend a little bit of time there with some of the shops. Also have great shows happening there, great food. We just had Dion up here. Like, how will the bid specifically support some of the things that are happening at Sycamore and Oak until we have the development that's there to replace it? Just how do you see those things working together?
Well, already the Prospering Places teams and their green team work they've just been a fantastic extension of the ability to make make accessing what was formerly an empty parking lot in an abandoned mental health hospital a place that people want to go. We've gotten 200,000 people to come to a place that people never would have even imagined going. Having a bid with the resources and the capability then to extend the maintenance, the security, the cleanliness, just the general friendliness, so that it makes it even easier for people to show up, is what will build economic momentum for the revitalization of that campus. That campus has been sitting empty for quite some time and is beginning to show green shoots of progress. But I think the bid will be a big contributor to making it just much more friendly and easier for people to access.
Yeah, I think that's right. Anything you want to add?
Yes, I second what Dan said as well. But as for the Main Street, as I mentioned in my testimony, we have businesses in Bellevue, South Cap, Alabama Avenue who feel left out. And while we don't turn anyone away, we just don't have enough capacity to serve everyone. And as Monica stated in her testimony, while the bid map is one that has not been seen before and it kind of is unpopular, but it's needed. And so while we try to assist the businesses in Bellevue and Alabama Avenue and Southern Avenue, the bid will provide the capacity and the resources needed so that we can really give them the technical support and facade improvements that are really needed now. Even like the abandoned American Job Center, which it was. Our cleaners is suffering from that abandoned building right there. The Giant, it's a new Dunkin' Donuts coming in that parking lot while the Giant is still suffering. Everyone needs support. And I think that the bid will be an expansion of the work. It will support the Main Street and have the resources to do more.
Right. That's a great point. And a lot of talk about businesses, business improvement district, Main Street, support businesses. Ramona Barber and the rest of the panel, if they'd like to chime in, but I want to direct initially this question to Ramona Barber. With all the talk about businesses, it almost feels like we're not talking about residents, right? But we've got a number of new residents in and around that community of Congress Heights who, like what's already there, because what's already there is more than what had been there some time ago. But also like the idea of having more amenities in their community that's walkable. So talk about the idea of how the business improvement district coming there, supporting the Main Street, supporting businesses actually is a boon for residents who live in that community, and perhaps those who you might want to attract to also live in that community.
It's definitely overdue. And with the bid supporting the businesses that we have there to improve their capacity and to grow new businesses is a big win for the Ward 8 residents all over, not just in Congress Heights, South Cap, and Bellevue, but all over Ward 8, because we visit all parts of Ward 8. A lot of us go to Anacostia, but we want to be able to have a lot of people to come to Congress Heights, Bellevue, and South Capitol Street too.
Okay. Anybody else want to talk about that?
No, go ahead.
I'll say I'm a lifetime long-term Ward 8 resident. Grew up on Barnaby Street in 2020 when I first purchased my first house. I knew exactly where I wanted to do it at in Ward 8. I'm on Savannah Street now and working in the community. It's truly been an honor. I know that the residents, like even my grandmother living on Willow Road, if the bid comes in when the bid comes in
Man.
and supports the corridor businesses and fulfill these vacant properties and bring in more corridor businesses, it makes it cleaner and safer for our residents to thrive. If they can walk to their local restaurant in Congress Heights or Bellevue, or walk to the cleaners and not feel like it's a scary place, that is all that's going to be needed there. The placemaking, bringing the community together. We're having a tree lighting ceremony on Friday for the community. Those are things that really bring the community together and let them know we're here to support them. And so we're not just doing it for corridor businesses, but doing it for residents like myself, like Ramona, like my grandmother. So supporting the businesses is also one and the same, like supporting the residents.
I agree. Thanks for that.
I would just like to echo what both my panel mates have said here and say that it's a false distinction to try to separate business from residents. 70% of our visitors to Sycamore and Oak are residents of Ward 8 and Ward 7. 100% of our owners of those businesses are residents. Elias, I joke, he has the second best commute in Washington after the president in the White House. He just has to walk across the street to get to his business. And he's opened the first coffee shop in Congress Heights. People in Congress Heights want, deserve, and need places like Elias's and Dion's.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is create a system that supports and encourages the ability for people to open businesses and build their own opportunity and wealth over time.
I think that's right. I think some people do. I know Dion knows. My wife was raised in Congress Heights, and I remember since we've been together forever, but going there when it was Portland Avenue before it was Malcolm X Avenue, and the businesses that existed around that corridor. And we've seen changes over the years. There've been lots of good changes over the years, but not nearly enough of what I think the people who live there would like to see there. They don't want to have to keep leaving their community to go get the things that they need. And I think the investments that have been made, and there have been major investments made in that community over the years. We've talked about some of them already. The work is already happening. This is just the next phase of that work, the next phase of the investment that's needed to support the businesses that ultimately support those residents that are already there. And so the two go hand in hand. I was kind of throwing that softball out there, but you all knocked it out the park. So I really appreciate that. I don't have any additional questions for this panel. Is there anything else you would like to add before we move to the next measure?
Just to thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Thank you all. We're going to turn to our government witness, Robert McKeon, who's the Deputy Chief Counsel, Office of Tax and Revenue, Office of the Chief Financial Officer. And before you're seated, if I could have you to raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to provide to the Council of the District of Columbia and the Committee on Business and Economic Development is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us in person. Whenever you're all settled in, you can begin your testimony.
Good morning, Chairperson McDuffie and members of the Committee on Business and Economic Development. I'm Robert McKeown, Deputy Chief Counsel at the Office of Tax and Revenue. I'm pleased to testify for OTR on Bill 26-421, Soul of the City Business Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025. In general, the bill would amend the district's business improvement district laws to allow for the creation of a new BID, generally located in the Congress Heights neighborhood. The bill would levy bid taxes on commercial properties, hotels on a per key basis, and apartment buildings on a per unit basis. Exemptions from the bid tax are apartments rented to low and moderate income tenants and real property with qualifying safety or security expenditures of more than $250,000 during the prior year. The bill allows for 3% annual increases in the bid tax rates. OTR recommends some technical corrections to the bill, including the establishment of an applicability date of October 1, 2026 to allow for sufficient time to implement the legislation and offer a commencement with the new tax year. I have attached OTR's recommendations to this testimony. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. This concludes my testimony, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
And thank you so much for your testimony and the suggestions that you made. You identified and recommended a few technical changes to the legislation, one of which is to delay the implementation of the bid tax until October 1, 2026, to allow for sufficient time to implement the legislation and offer commencement with the new tax year. Want to explore that just a bit. We heard testimony today that the Congress Heights community prefers that the legislation is timely approved so that the bid tax may be in effect for the tax year 2025. Does OTR have adequate resources in place to implement the bid for the fiscal year 2025 tax year?
I believe, yes, we do. It's just would be a little, if there were an earlier start date, I think it should be April 1st of 2026, which would be the second half of the tax year. And the reason why I say that is the first half of the tax year has already been billed. Bid taxes, unlike real property taxes, are billed in advance. Real property taxes are billed in arrears. So on September 15th, the bid taxes were due already for the first half of 26. So if there were to be an earlier start date, if it could be April 1 of 26 for the second half of TY 26, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think you just answered my second question. So I actually don't have any additional questions.
All right.
Do you have anything else though you want to add to the record? I think the recommendations were helpful and perhaps clarifies, the timing of this thing and why you all were recommending that.
Yeah, that's all. It's just that it's cleaner on a full tax year, but at least on a half tax year basis would be, but in arrears, the first half 26 bills already went out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's all.
that makes sense. I appreciate you putting that on the record and thank you for your testimony and working on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Just checking to make sure the commissioner didn't rejoin us. I'm gonna we're now going to turn to the last measure on our agenda, Bill 26-247, the Anacostia Business Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025. I introduced this measure on May 12th, 2025, and was referred to the Committee on Business and Economic Development on May 28th, 2025. As introduced, this bill would permit the mayor to approve the petition by the Anacostia BID to expand its geographic area to include exempt real property owners. I'm now going to call our public witnesses around this measure. And we don't have any government witnesses for this measure, just as an FYI for anybody who is home watching. Let's start with Ron Moten, Christina Noel, Darrell Simpson, I also seen earlier. Darrell's still here. Christina's here. Yep, Christina Noel, Darrell Simpson, Howard John. Y'all can line up. Good morning to each of you all. Thank you for joining us here this morning. Ramon, I know you wanted to talk about the Soul of the City bid, and I want to give you a chance to do that because we want to make sure the record is full and complete for that. And we'll join next by Christina Noel. It's good to see all of you. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Ms. Moten.
Yes. I would like to actually I came down here to give my support to the Soul of the City bid. One, because I'm in Anacostia and I see the benefits that a bid can have for businesses. And as it relates to Soul of the City, I just want to go back to like 2021 when we came up with the concept of the museum and when we had Checker Enterprises. They You know, a lot of the organizations and businesses who start don't have the capacity to do a lot of the internal things you have to do to grow. And starting with even applying for our 501c3, they were the organization that with no charge helped us apply for our 501c3, and we got it with no problem. They also helped us with grants. Initially, our first grant for the museum came from them supporting us and giving us the capacity to help us write the grants. And that's what a lot of organizations are missing. You know, we have a lot of people, businesses and organizations who get frustrated because they cannot get the grants. And what happens is you just see people fighting amongst each other, not knowing that the reason why some people got grants is because they had people in the community supporting them and showing them how to get these particular grants. So I just want to just let it be known on the record that not only me, but everybody that I sent to them for the same type of support got the same type of support and were able to start businesses and nonprofits. And I'm saying if they're not necessarily funded to do that on a level that it can be with a bid, what it can mean for that, what it can mean for doing events other than just Sycamore and Oak, but throughout the whole entire Congress Heights area, I think it would mean a lot for the community. The beautification can expand more and all the other things, jobs and things of that nature. And as it relates to the Anacostia bid, I think anything that brings revenue to the bid can help. We still need a lot of support in Anacostia. We're still growing, but businesses, they need the support to get more business and let people know about all the great things in Anacostia. So anything that will help expand the budget to do that is much needed as well, because pretty much east of the river, all of us are operating off of the bare minimum. So anything that can support the businesses to grow and to do events, because we have a lot of talent. In fact, you know, I'm an uptown guy. I've been on the South Side for 22 years. But as far as what's going on in this city right now, I don't know any other place from the bottom of MLK to the top of MLK that has as much talent and culture that I grew up on. So if we're going to preserve that culture, grow the businesses, grow the nonprofits, we need to embrace both. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it. I think we said we're going to start next with Christina Noel. Good to see you. Thanks for being here in person. You begin your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Councilmember McDuffie.
You can turn on your mic, and if you all can turn your mics off.
I got you. I thought it would be loud.
And if you all could turn your mics off for me too, so we can hear. There you go.
Okay. Good morning, Councilmember McDuffie, Chair of Committee of the Business and Economic Development, and the other members of the committee. This is a big day for Ward 8, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Christina Noel. I'm the Executive Director of the Anacostia Business Improvement District. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify in strong support of the proposed expansion of the Anacostia BID, DC's official arts and culture district's boundary expansion. The Anacostia BID serves 344 businesses today, from neighborhood retailers and restaurateurs to creatives, professional services, and entrepreneurs. We are deeply committed to strengthening our historic neighborhoods through comprehensive community change that uplifts residents, supports local businesses, and preserves cultural legacy. The proposed boundary expansion, including the 11th Street Bridge Park, Anacostia Park up to Nicholson Street, parts of Sherwood Parkway, and additional areas of Berry Farm with intentional connection to Joint Base Anacostia Bowling and Bowling Air Force Base, aligns and energizes how residents work and creators already live, work, learn, and engage east of the river. The expansion strengthens corridor vibrancy and cultural connectivity by linking parkland, public spaces, destinations, and commercial corridors into one cohesive art, culture, and economic ecosystem. Extending the district through Anacostia Park improves pedestrian connectivity, activates underutilized spaces, enhances safety through consistent presence, and expands access to green space as a core quality of life and economic development asset. The inclusion of the 11th Street Bridge Park is a cornerstone of this proposal. It brings residents, visitors, educators, and local entrepreneurs together through art, culture, education, and entertainment, generating sustained economic activity while honoring Anacastia's history. For existing businesses, this means increased foot traffic, stronger visibility, and new customer pipelines tied directly to cultural programming and green space activation. When combined with innovation corridors, such as the Bridge District, the federal anchors like St. Elizabeth's UCC campus, the Arts and Culture District represents a powerful intersection of arts, culture, creative technology, cybersecurity, and defense sector innovation, positioning the Anacostia BID as a national model for cultural-driven, place-based revitalization. This expansion also strengthens alignment with major federal and military employment anchors, including Joint Base Anacostia Bolling and Bolling Air Force Base. These installations support tens of thousands of daily users, including these connections within the Arts and Culture District, enables local businesses and cultural organizations to better leverage that steady customer base. The expansion is not just about managing growth, it's about proactively creating opportunity. Anacostia is growing and expanding now, allows us to grow with it rather than chase it later. A key tool in this work is the Anacostia BID Village program. The village assembles a coordinated network of technical assistance providers, city agencies, lenders, developers, and community partners to guide businesses from concept through opening and to remain engaged as they grow. This model has strengthened storefront activation, reduced vacancy, and kept locally owned businesses woven into the community. Importantly, the village avoids what is known as a condition of subsidy, where businesses rely on repeated short-term financial assistance without building long-term capacity. Instead, by coordinating partners through a business communication access portal and aligning support early, the village builds independence, resilience, and sustainability. Aligning support early is important and allowing businesses to thrive in real market conditions. Finally, we have seen measurable progress in safety and perception. Through safety ambassadors, corridor activation, lighting, and consistent programming, and supported by meltwater sentiment analysis, we have seen a clear positive shift in how people view and engage with the Anacostia BID, reflected in increased visitation, engagement, and investment interest. Today, the Anacostia BID prioritized testimony from the Arts, Culture, Entertainment, and Economic ACE Council, which you'll hear from next, because this expansion represents a system-level strategy. ACE provides a cross-sector lens that connects arts and culture to economic development, workforce pathways, small business growth, and equitable outcomes, confirming that this district is operating as designed and advancing city goals. In closing, the boundary expansion builds on proven success, strengthens connectivity and safety, again, supports the 344 businesses, and creates proactive opportunities for growth. I respectfully urge the council to approve the Anacostia BID expansion. And remember, it's DC's official arts and culture district. Thank you for your time and leadership and patience.
And thank you for your time and for your testimony. Let you go over as the head of the BID executive director. No worries, but I'll just remind everybody else that your witness testimony is limited to 3 minutes, and I want to hear all of it. So we're going to turn next to Howard John. Good to see you.
All right, good to see you.
Testimony, you have 3 minutes.
Absolutely, thank you. Dear Chairman and members of the council, I stand here as a business owner from DC. I've been working with the Anacostia BID for the past 3 years. I also serve as the chair of the Technology Council for the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. And also I was instrumental in helping to get approval from the ANC for the MLK Gateway project. So I've been involved in the Anacostia community for a while when it comes to business through Enlighten Antoine Ford's company, which is actually one of the largest technology companies in the Southeast community. For me, this has been a very interesting experience as I've grown my business during Anacostia. I told Christina that her company, our organization, was instrumental in allowing me to be a vendor at the I think the barbecue festival. And I say that with emotion because they were able to fund me getting 15 headsets, VR headsets, and we do activations across the city. And so because of that, I've been able to grow my business. And tomorrow we'll be launching the first virtual reality academy at CCBC in Baltimore for dental hygienists. And I'm emotional because as a small business owner, it takes businesses and organizations like the BID to support new companies that are adding value to the community. And so forth. I've been added to the ACE Council and to support with their expansion in their community. And it's been an exciting opportunity to learn more about the community, but also to give back and support not only ACE Council, but Anacostia Arts and other aspects of that community. The proposed expansion, including 11th Street Bridge Park and Anacostia Park up to Nicholson Street, and additional areas of Berrien Farm with intentional connections to the Joint Base Anacostia Bowling Air Force Base is essential to solidifying a connected, resilient arts and culture district that reflects how people already live, work, and learn in the east of the river. Strengthening corridor vibrancy, safety, and cultural connectivity. This expansion strengthens corridor vibrancy, neighborhood revitalization by connecting cultural destinations, parkland, public spaces, and commercial corridors into a cohesive ACE ecosystem. Extending throughout the district, Nicholson Street and Sherwood Parkway reinforces pedestrian connectivity, activates public spaces, and improves safety through consistent programming, unifies riverfront and neighborhood assets into a shared economic engine. We've been, I guess, pre-contracted to help support with the virtual reality and the augmented reality of the 11th Street Bridge project, making this one of the only and probably the first in the nation to do so, leveraging AR technology to bolster up the interconnectivity of technology when it comes to business development and economic development in the community. The Arts and Culture District expansion strengthens alignment between Anacostia, ACC, ACE economy, and nearby federal and employment centers, including Joint Base, Anacostia Building, Boiling, and Boiling Air Force Base. As a workforce development provider, there are many opportunities that will come from this, and as we also employ many Southeast residents through our company, and I'll concede.
And thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it. Our last witness on this panel, and I appreciate that you shared that story and that you got choked up. Just really speaks to, I think, how passionate you are about this and your support for the Anacostia BID because of what it's been able to help you do with your business.
Thank you.
Darrell Simpson, it's good to see you. It's been a little while. Look forward to hearing your testimony.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman McDuffie, members of the Committee on Business and Economic Development. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Before I get started, I'd like to take a moment of silence to honor the memory of a pillar east of the river and an impactful contributor to journalism district-wide, my fraternity brother, Mr. James Wright. Thank you. Chairman McDuffie, my name is Darrell Simpson, and I am here today to talk about the Anacostia Business Improvement District Amendment Act. As a Ward 8 resident, a small business owner, father, and chairman of the Anacostia Arts, Culture, Education, and Entertainment Council, an advisory group to the Anacostia BID comprised of business owners, community organizers, and industry leaders committed to amplifying Anacostia as the city's official arts and culture district and a destination of choice for families and visitors alike. This amendment represents a forward-thinking approach towards strengthening Anacostia's long-term stability. The current boundaries of the BID reflect the people who live there and the core of our commercial and cultural activity. However, the purpose of this expansion is not to redefine the community. It is to bring more resources into the community so that businesses already here and those on the way can grow, but most importantly, thrive. By extending the BID to include key areas like the 11th Street Bridge Park, parts of Berry Farm, and the expanded portions of Anacostia Park, we strengthen the infrastructure and supports our economic and cultural ecosystems in a way that makes sense. These spaces directly influence foot traffic, safety, neighborhood identity, and economic activity. Pulling them into the BID allows us to coordinate better street cleanliness, programming, and marketing in a way that benefits the existing corridors and reinforces the businesses that residents have already come to rely on, like the Go-Go Museum, who recently held an activation teaching young kids about the city's indigenous music, or Grounded, who recently hosted award-winning musician Wale's album release party. And the best lunchtime special, I think, offered on Marionberry Avenue at Kitchen Savages. Including the 11th Street Bridge Park is especially important. With a projected $1.2 million, 1.2 million visitors annually, it will instantly become a major driver for tourism and another place sorely needed east of the river for our community to gather. Integrating it into the bid ensures that the energy it brings translates into real economic opportunity and that it works with the community instead of operating as yet another disconnected attraction. This expansion also positions Anacostia to better align with the larger nearby institutions like Bolin Air Force Base, St. Elizabeth. And I'd close and wrap up and say, most importantly, this is about creating a community that's vested in itself to ensure that it has the tools for its own sustainability so that we can have consistent placemaking and a shared responsibility for our public spaces. Mr. Chairman, thank you for introducing this legislation. I also want to thank Councilmember Bonds and White for co-sponsoring the legislation. And I hope that, with this legislation, we could discuss some dedicated annual funding. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your testimony. I appreciate all the witnesses who provided testimony on this panel. I do have some questions for the panel. And I do think it's fitting that Ron Moten talked about the Solar City bid, but he did so by talking about how important the Anacostia bid is to some of the existing businesses along the corridor. And I want to direct some of my initial questions to Christina Noel, because I understand that the expansion will include areas like the 11th Street Bridge Park, additional areas of Barry Farm, and in the future, connections to Joint Base Anacostia Bolin and Bolin Air Force Base. And you touched on that a little bit in your testimony. Have you had any conversations with, formal or otherwise, with the National Park Service or Joint Base, and what other processes will be required to expand the bid boundary to those parts of Ward 8?
Thank you. Yes, and over many years. As you know, this has been in process for an expansion for a while now. I was even nominated by the JBAB as an honorary into their honorary commander program. I had conversations about their participation with the bid with Rear Admiral Lochte and leadership at JBED now. Also, it makes a lot of sense with what we're looking at in partnership with Red Brick and their development of the Bridge District and defense contracting for small businesses, having those types of opportunities and more, tech hubs, those types of things. National Park Service, absolutely. Our bid already encompasses Poplar Point up to Marionberry Avenue. The 11th Street Bridge Park is a big part of that. And we have a MOU with NPS now.
Okay.
So yes.
Great. Glad to hear it. So a question to help me and the committee understand how the bid boundary may impact existing businesses. Talk about approximately how many businesses are included in the bid today. I think I heard the number 344, and how many will be impacted by the expansion of the bid boundary.
Well, I can tell you all 344 will definitely be impacted. What we're doing is we're also in a very positive way. This helps us to drive foot traffic, extend beautification. But one of the most important things is also a shift in our identity, not a change, because we love the vibe. It's more of a shift in what people think about east of the river with regard to crime and other things. The businesses that are forthcoming, there are new developments that are coming that will have retail space. For example, Berry Farms, they're in the middle of development right now on a building with retail space. This gives us the ability to be proactive and not have to chase. As businesses come in, our partnerships with our developers and community partners that do technical assistance and all of those types of things, we are able to get in front of them ahead of the game so that they have a better chance of being sustainable in a destination, because this is where we have to promote this as a destination. A lot of businesses come in and don't know what that actually looks like when foot traffic is different. But even though it is picking up, we still have a ways to go.
Yeah. But just to be clear, and I'll turn to you in a moment, the 344 that you referenced, that's the existing number of businesses included in the bid?
That's the existing number.
And you're working, it sounds positively, with developers and have an eye towards the future businesses, retail, otherwise will be included with those developments. But would this expansion capture any new existing businesses that would add to the 344 number?
That are existing.
Yes.
There would be about 6.
Okay.
And that's part of the Berry Farms project.
Okay.
Because they're coming in. Yes.
And for those businesses that exist today, that would be a part of the expansion, do they understand and support the added bid tax?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that our bid is structured, the property owners are the ones that pay the bid tax. And I'm sure a lot of that most of the time will trickle down to the businesses.
Yep.
So they're aware of what that possibility would be, but it doesn't really change, for the property owners, they're very aware. And there is a process through DSLBD that you have to go through to be able to do that.
Right. All right. And then, and I've been, very supportive of the Anacostia bid and the work you all are doing, in particular the Village program and the resources that it's provided to new and growing businesses. Do you think that the Village program would have enough resources to adequately support the new businesses that could potentially be a part of an expanded bid?
We always need more resources. However,
I heard that on the panel too, so.
we need it. However, because for the first 4.5 years, I was actually there on my own. And this was a way that I was able to expand my capacity and help multiple businesses. And so we're with or without funding, but remember, we want funding to be able to do more. We're able to accomplish this. And we do it. It's very curated to each and every business. Nothing is cookie cutter. Each business is at a different stage. And so we're able to actually create a village for each one of them that they can continue with through the sustainability and the life cycle of their business.
Great. I think my final question for you, you were here and you heard testimony about the creation potentially of a new bid for Congress Heights, Soul of the City. Just wanted to get your thoughts on if you've had an opportunity. I know my team has been talking with you and we've been talking with Monica Ray, and we view this as introducing both of those measures as complementary and not anything that created any issues or competition. But I wanted to just ask you about if you've had an opportunity to review the boundaries of the Soul of the City bid and what you thought the impact might be for that area of Congress Heights that it includes.
So I've seen the map. I have not reviewed each street. It's a lot. And it's a big bid. I applaud that effort. It is a thankless job a lot of the time, but it is definitely worthy of the effort. I think that the impact, especially for Alabama Avenue and a lot of the other areas that they discussed, definitely need that focused attention. I do want to mention that just from bid experience, that broad overarching 50-foot view, and as they're doing, and they'll have to do a lot more, taking those strategic strikes at the things that you can actually hopefully accomplish. And being able to juggle all of those things at one time, it's just not the easiest thing, but
Right.
uh, they've got a plan and I look forward to working with them.
You wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, I want to add, I'm a transplant, so I'm from South Carolina and I moved here in 2013. And when I moved here, it was a lot of conversation about the safety of Southeast and et cetera. And since working with the BID and kind of relocating there, it's been an amazing experience to see how it's changed my perception of the BID, but also the quality of life. Excuse me, the quality of life and the things that happen there. So I just commend the BID for what they've been able to do to transform the image and the perception of that community and helping to attract new businesses and activity there that I've been a part of, but also my colleagues from around the region have been a part of. So I just wanted to add that it's definitely a use case on how they've been able to bring new businesses and also new activity to that side of the town that granted that other parts of the community doesn't have, but also has been able to bolster up the image and the safety and the quality of life in that area.
Yep. I've heard the word safety and cleanliness and beautification mentioned on both of the panels about the bids, and I thought it's bears repeating because I think it's something that everybody can agree with. Is definitely been a value add of the existing bids, the main streets where they are located and where they have clean teams, and the desire for those who testified in support of Solar City bid to augment some of the existing efforts with the support of a bid behind to continue to make it things clean and safe in that community. So I just thought it was something that I wanted to lift up because I think we all can agree. We've heard that phrase used a lot lately. But if you live in those communities, you work in those communities, you're of those communities, it's not something new. It's something that you've already been working on. It's something you've been striving for. And frankly, with some of the folks who testified here, it is something that you have put a lot of effort into ensuring in the neighborhood. So I really appreciate that as well. What part of South Carolina are you from?
In South Carolina.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. I think, let me see if I have any other questions. I think that's all the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you all would like to add before we go on to the next panel for this measure?
I just wanted to say that, and you actually brought this up, that bids all over the city, it's not cookie cutter. Each area is very different and requires different efforts. So, I mean, I've learned that when I first became the bid director in Anacostia and what we needed to do. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there because everything is not going to be the same for each area. And we have to do our best as we coordinate with our communities.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's a great point. And I think, obviously there's a bid council that coordinates across the bids, but, the communities where bids currently exist do have different things that they need, which is why I think equity is so important in the work that the council and the executive does to make sure that the resources are flowing in a fashion that is equitable, because there are certain communities that need more in order to provide the sorts of services, supports, amenities to businesses and residents across the District of Columbia. Yeah.
I wanted to say that along with the bids, I think that our city council, mayor, like the whole autonomy of our government needs to focus more on working with the bids. The bids can do what they do, but if it's not intentional about letting people know what's in Anacostia and what's in Congress Heights, 'cause I give you an example. When the furloughs happened, we were able to get visitors that we never got before because people were able to take the time and research.
And visitors to what? Just so people
To
like
the museum.
Yeah.
And which also transcends to restaurants and other things within the corridor, right? But people were able to take the time to look and see what was going on. And we were doing a lot of promotions on what we had and offering free admission to people who were on furlough, so they came. All right, but we don't always get the Fox 5 News to talk about, hey, we open, you don't have nothing to do for the furlough. But when people come to this city, just like when I go to any other city, I want to know, where are the real people at? And I don't say that to take away from any other part of the city, but there's a certain autonomy that used to exist in DC that doesn't exist where I grew up in Petworth, that exists in Anacostia and Congress Heights and Deanwood and other places like that, right? So our city has to be proud of these locations while we're here so we can stay here and push people to these places, because it's unfair to dump all this money in these areas, and you have the Grounders, the Go-Go Museum, the Sapodillas, D-City Smokehouse, the Sweet Tooth, and all these places, and the city is not really pushing people there. Like downtown is one thing, but downtown is never going to be the same.
All right.
All right. People are looking for renaissances throughout the city, and that's what's going to revive this city and get the tax dollars back in this city. So we have to be conscious about pushing people to the Navy Yards, to the Anacostas, like I said, to the Deanwoods. We got so much to offer, but we gotta push the people there, because once they get there, we make them happy.
Yeah.
But we got to get them there.
I think that's an excellent point, particularly given everything that's happening with our economy, our historic reliance on feds, eds, and meds to drive our economy. And we still are going to rely on them, large employers. We need them. We want
Right.
them. But then there's also the component of where you go to get community, a sense of culture, right? It is the Go-Go Museum. It is even for newer businesses. I mean, we talked about Grounded. One of you mentioned that Wale's, launch was at Grounded. I spent plenty of time at Grounded. I just did yoga for the first time, seated yoga at Grounded. You know what I mean? Who knew that I would enjoy it? But there's a lot going on in Congress Heights, in Anacostia. You all know it. You're working to push that information out, but coordination across government and some of the quasi-government entities, Events DC, which does a great job to support. And I know there are people who want them to do more. I think Angie Gates and her team are doing a fantastic job. Destination DC, that markets the city. We talk about all the time, you can go certain cities, Nashville, and hear their music, to New York, hear their music, to Memphis, hear their music. Well, Go-Go is the official music of Washington, D.C. When you come off a plane at DCA or at Dulles or BWI, particularly DCA, because it's the closest to the city, are you hearing the music? Are they telling you about the Go-Go Museum? Are they telling you about, Grounded? Are they telling you about the Anacostia Arts Center? Are they telling you about all the restaurants and shops?
Sycamore Oak.
Sycamore and Oak, Sapodillas.
Yes.
Sweet Tooth, and some of the ones that I enjoy a lot. Are you all getting that information in the marketing materials of the nation's capital? And if you are, can we get more of it, right? Because you all need it. So I really appreciate the efforts that you all are making. And as far as I'm concerned, we need to continue to double down on the work that we're doing to make that coordination happen and direct those resources to where it's needed the most.
Thank you. And yes, we're the resources, and we'll do that even more. We are working with the airport, but yeah, we'd love to do a lot more. So
Perfect.
thank you.
Perfect. MLK Deli and some of the other ones as well.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add, kind of echo the sentiments that I think I heard on the earlier panel that you held from Ms. Dion Reader. I think, she said something I thought was extremely powerful about how these two women, right, will be leading these bids on such a major street. And I thought that was a huge win for Ward 8, a huge win east of the river. And it really, we know it's not March, it's not Women's History Month, but why can't we celebrate women all year round? I think that's a big, big step. So I want to say that. And then I want to point back to my testimony in terms of, and echo what Mr. Moten just said about, funding and dedicated funding. I think we mentioned it before, June 23rd, 2024, or 2023, June 24th, 2023, Mayor Bowser authorized the establishment of Anacostia as the official arts and culture district of the city, but without any dedicated funding. So I'm hoping that, as we advance this bill and move it forward, that you could speak to how we could provide some dedicated funding there. I'm hoping for millions and millions of dollars, but I'm sure you'll work that out. But that's all I wanted to add in there.
Well,
Thank
I think
you.
that's a fitting place to conclude this panel. But on a more serious and somber note, I too want to just recognize the work of James Wright, who was a stalwart and was seen all around the city, covering stories that often didn't get covered in some of the more recognized media. But the Washington Informer truly had a jewel, somebody who I met back in 1997 when he was covering my little brother, who was a star running back at Cardozo High School. And he was the only person who showed up to cover stories like that, the good stories that communities need to hear about, that we don't hear about enough. And so definitely want to lift up and just really send condolences to his family and friends and everybody who knew him, and just really acknowledge his body of work that meant a great deal to our city, to our residents, and really informing our daily life. So definitely James Wright. Thank you all. I'm gonna turn to our next panel. Alan Tubis, Jean Larroquette, Commissioner Robbie Woodland is joining us virtually. Gregory Jackson, virtually. The rest of these witnesses are going to be joining virtually. Paul Orange, Tracy Johnson, Jerome Curtis, Candace Cunningham, Maria Esmeralda, Anisha Claggett, John Pearson, Paul Spires, Ashley Rosado, Ibi Joke, Masay Doribe, Kelly Michael Williams, Maria Carolina Lopez, Kelly Whittier, Simona Wright James, and Desmond Barnes. Okay, all right, we got a number of virtual witnesses. We're going to begin with our two patient witnesses who joined us in person at the John A. Wilson Building. Good morning for one more minute to you all. We'll begin from my left and your right.
Good morning, Chairman McDuffie and committee members. My name is Alan Tubis. I serve on the Anacostia BID's ACE Advisory Council, which stands, as you know, for Arts, Culture, Education, Entertainment. I also am the producer and co-founder of the National Capital Barbecue Battle, which has been held for over 34 years in Washington, D.C. I'm also a supporter of the Art to Go Village. It's an art installation launched at every event for the last 3 years by the Anacostia BID to highlight creators from Wards 7 and 8. Here in strong support of Bill 26247, which expands the Anacostia BID and strengthens the Art and Culture District in Wards 7 and 8. After decades of working with district agencies, community groups, and local businesses to produce one of DC's largest annual events, I've seen how sustained investments in art and culture can engage neighborhoods, drive economic opportunity, and build community pride. This expansion is more than adjusting boundaries. It brings long-needed resources to an area rich in artistic talent, but historically underserved. Key benefits would include revitalized corridors, extending bid services to areas like the 11th Street Bridge Project or 11th Street Bridge Park, Berry Farm, would improve safety, walkability, and vibrancy. Support for local artists would strengthen the district by helping to ensure artists in Ward 7 and 8 can live, work, and thrive in their own communities rather than have to move out of their communities. Small business sustainability, clean teams, safety ambassadors, marketing and programming help the existing businesses grow and attract new ones. And cultural equity, the expansion promotes fair investment in neighborhoods east of the river, honoring their history and creative legacy. Just under 3 years, or about 3 years, Art2Go has shown how investing in local creators yields major cultural and economic returns. Bill 26247 would build on that success and deepen collaboration among community partners, cultural organizations, and local government. So I urge the council to support this expansion. It is a meaningful step towards strengthening the creative economy, supporting small businesses, enhancing public spaces, and uplifting cultural heritage in Ward 7 and 8. And I thank you for your time and commitment to the arts, small business, and the future of Anacostia. And I also want to say, I wanted to get my message across, so I wrote it down. But I also want to say from my heart, I am honored. I'm absolutely honored to be working with the people who have testified, with the residents and the business owners of Ward 7 and 8, with the council, with council members. The public service and the care for one another is absolutely, to be a part of it is a blessing. Barbecue Battle, we have worked so well with Christina and her team at Anacostia Bid. We provide free space for some of the restaurants.
Great.
We are just very, very grateful.
I appreciate your testimony. Thank you so much for joining us in person and provide it too. Next.
I think it's afternoon now. It was the morning. Good afternoon, Chairman McDuffie, and to everyone on the board. I am Jean Larocque, known to the Ward 8 and Ward 7 as Jay Larocque. I'm speaking threefold. I'm speaking as a community and business development officer for a top 10 bank, where we just opened a location, a community store in Ward 7, but serving Ward 7 and Ward 8, kind of dancing in the middle of the two. I'm speaking as an ACE council member, a proud new ACE council member. And third, I'm speaking as somebody that's not a native Washingtonian, from Brooklyn, New York, born in Hayes, moved out into the DMV area in the pandemic, but I'm coming to love it. I'm coming to love it because of Anacostia. And speaking as a community, as a bank professional, I'm speaking, and folks behind me and that were here earlier can attest to this. I'm speaking to businesses almost daily, literally feeling sometimes like a psychiatrist, also telling them to hold on, keep on. Yes, the need for financial education is important, and that's something I'm providing. I'm proud to say I provided that to these businesses. And many of these businesses have done what I've suggested, or what other professionals have suggested. They've leveraged themselves to get lending. They've maintained the credit. They've went and got applied for grants. They did all the things that we would all sit down as professionals would tell them to do. But what they can't do is bring people over the bridge. They can't force or make people come. They need help, and this expansion would allow that to automatically put 1.2 million people potentially in a given year to these businesses, so that these businesses have the opportunity to service them. That's the answer. That's what they need. So yes, they could use my financial education all day, every day. We all need to be educated, but they really need this expansion to allow for these folks to come over the bridge, for lack of a better term, and to patronize these wonderful, talented, lovely businesses. As someone that's not a native Washingtonian, I can say I heard some of the rumors too, when I was about to walk over the bridge and work in Ward 7 and 8. And I can honestly say, I don't see that. I see nothing but love. And I'm from a place where we show love. I've been shown love. Real recognizes real. Ward 8 wants authenticity. They want to know that they're people that are going to be with them, stand by them. And they simply need the love of the city to make this expansion happen so that 1.2 million beautiful people can walk over and see what I've saw at Anacostia: talent, love, business, and community.
Appreciate the testimony. Thanks for that perspective.
Yes,
Really
sir.
important. Next, Ronald Williams. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Mr. Chairman.
Good
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Councilmember Bonds, Councilmember White. My name is Ronald Williams. I'm the owner of RT Williams Seafood, small business operating in the Anacostia Bid Corridor. I'm here today to strongly support the Anacostia Business Improvement District's proposed official arts and culture district expansion and the request for dedicated funding. As a business owner, I can say that the Anacostia bid has been instrumental in helping me move my business forward. Through technical assistance, grant support, and help navigating the district agencies and partner organizations, the bid has provided guidance that small businesses like mine don't always have access to on our own. I'm especially grateful for the opportunity to explore a potential business location after one failed in Berry Farms, an opportunity I would not have reached without the bid support or Christina's Noel's personal support. The proposed expansion, including the 11th Street Bridge Park, Anacostia Park, up to Nicholson Street and Sherwood Park, additional areas of Berry Farm, and connections to Joint Base Anacostia, Bowling Air Force Base, reflects how our community actually functions. These are the corridors where residents, workers, service members, and visitors already live, work, and, as Tommy Wells used to say, livable, walkable community. Expanding the Arts and Culture District means stronger, safer, and attractive corridors, increased foot traffic, and more economic opportunity for local businesses like mine. It also strengthens the relationships that help businesses succeed. I didn't get here alone. I still rely on my village, which is the Anacostia bid, that is a critical part of my growth. Dedicated annual funding is essential so that the bid can continue providing technical assistance, supporting businesses' growth, activating corridors, and helping entrepreneurs navigate the systems that often slow us down. I respectfully urge the council to approve the Arts and Culture District expansion and provide annual funding so businesses like mine can continue to grow as part of a comprehensive community change that uplifts Anacostia. Thank you for your support, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you for your testimony. I know we have virtual witnesses that we're going to hear from next, but I wanted to thank the three folks who are testifying in person. Let them know that I don't have any additional questions for you all, but appreciate your testimony. If you haven't already provided that testimony in writing, I would encourage you to do so, just so we can make sure that it is included in the record in a written format. So thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
One thing I did want to note is that the bid connected several of us. We were the first cohort with Booz Allen Hamilton. Booz Allen Hamilton, as you guys know, is a major consulting firm. Yep. And when I looked at the price tag as if I was a Fortune 500 company, we would have needed to gross in like $500,000 or more in order to secure Booz Allen Hamilton on our own. We didn't do that. Anacostia bid connected us. We had 18 months of technical assistance from Booz Allen Hamilton that then yielded me opportunities to get farmland in Maryland, but still headquarter my business here in Anacostia. So
great. Appreciate you adding that to the record. Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm going to turn to our virtual witnesses. I believe Commissioner Robbie Woodland, ANSI HC06 is our first virtual witness. Thanks for joining us virtually, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Testimony, you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. So quickly, I noticed I'm in support of this. I think this is great. However, I do notice that the bill, to me, it needs to have just a little bit more teeth. So there's no definition of exempt real properties owners. If we could define that, because the word exempt in DC law is too broad, it could be anything from a federal government agency to a nonprofit. So if we can allow that, that would be great. Also, when these exempt real property owners bid, there isn't anything that explains whether they must consent, whether they must pay assessments, whether they must have voting rights within the bid. That's a major governance gap for me. If we can define that, that would be great. There are no safeguards for residents when the bid expands. So we all know that bids are not neutral, they influence. So policing, loitering enforcement, business displacement, streetscape redesign, any of those things. If we can add some safeguards for the Ward 8 residents, like a Ward 8 advisory board, where the members don't have any skin or have any skin in the game. They don't have any hands in financial pots in Ward 8. They can't be involved with construction or development or bid solicitations in any kind of way. And make that a mandate. I think that that would be great. I'm trying to go through it as quickly as I possibly can. I also noticed that there is no requirement for public transparency or ANC consultation. So to me, that means that ANCs can be bypassed in decision making. If we can change that so that ANCs can be added to the decision making, that would be great. This gives the mayor unilateral approval authority. Not the council makes the call with this, but the mayor. If we can adjust this as well a bit, I think that would be great. And so far, sir, that's all I have. I do support it, but if we can make some of those changes, I think if we add a little bit more teeth to this, it will be great. Those are the only things I saw that I had a problem with. Thank you, sir.
And thank you for your testimony, Commissioner. I appreciate that testimony. I know you had 3 minutes, but we certainly want to make sure if you get an opportunity. How long is it? Okay, the record is open until December 8th at 5 p.m. If you want to sort of submit some of that in writing, just so it all gets captured.
Yes, sir. I did that yesterday. I sent
Oh,
it to Mr. Cisco.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Not sure who Mr. Cisco is. Oh, Cislo. Got it. Okay. Kelly Cislo on my staff. Okay. We'll make sure we get it. I wanted to make sure we had that in writing. So thank you for already submitting that.
Sure.
Our next witness is Gregory Jackson. Good afternoon to you.
Yes.
Glad you're taking the time to testify. It's good to see you. Look forward to your testimony.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Greg Jackson. I'm testifying in strong support of the Anacostia bid expansion. I'm here as a longtime homeowner in Anacostia, as well as a member of the Art, Culture, Education, and Entertainment Advisory Council. And I'm deeply invested in strengthening Anacostia's historic neighborhoods through community change that empowers local community leaders, local-owned small businesses, but also just builds our sense of community and preserves the historic culture that is vibrant in our neighborhood. As a resident of the 1700 block of W Street, our neighborhood has navigated decades of trials, but we've remained hopeful as homeowners and being near to the historic home of Frederick Douglass, the Lion of Anacostia. And we've also welcomed the growth of the business district and we see places like Anacostia Park and Berry Farm and 11th Street Bridge as part of our larger community. These are spaces where we host family reunions, cookouts, football games, basketball tournaments, long walks, and sometimes jogs. More walks for me because I'm a little heavier now. But this has become a big part of our community and really a space for our mental health as a quiet, peaceful place we can enjoy away from the hustle and bustle of DC. And so with that said, witnessing what's happening across the city with outside investors pouring into neighborhoods, we see this bid expansion as a way to ensure that the economic growth in this entire region is led by local leaders, that is synchronized with Anacostia businesses throughout the region, and that there are equitable opportunities for our neighbors of today and yesterday to play a role here. Lastly, I'm also a survivor of gun violence. and the former deputy director of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And I know that the most sustainable long-term route to safer communities is pouring into the quality of life and creating real opportunities for those most vulnerable or at risk. And living in Anacostia for 8 years now, I've seen how the bid has brought our communities together. It's helped positively shift a previously negative neighborhood stigma, increased cultural experiences, strengthened the businesses, but also created more activities and programs to rebuild that sense of community and provide opportunities for so many people who have been overlooked for so long. And so we know that this bid expansion will strengthen and revitalize our community, our culture, but most importantly, ensure we have a cohesive ecosystem in Anacostia, Berry Farms, 11th Street, and in Anacostia Park. I also just want to emphasize to fully realize the impact of this expansion, I echo the request that the council provide dedicated annual funding. We know that's crucial to make sure this is well maintained, and we are seeing the opportunities and the outcomes that we hope to see. And so I just want to thank you again for making some space for us as neighbors, as residents, and business owners to be a voice in this really important decision.
And thank you so much for your testimony this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Our next witness is Paul Orange. Good afternoon to you. You begin your testimony. You'll have 3 minutes. All right, looks like we lost Paul Orange. Our next witness is Tracy Johnson. Actually, no. Looks like it's Maria Esmeralda. Good afternoon to you. You begin your testimony. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, council member and members of the committee. My name is Maria Esmeralda Paguaga, and I'm the founder and chief strategist and innovation director at CBED Inc., a communications and digital strategy firm based in Washington, D.C. And it's an honor to be here today to strongly support the proposed expansion and dedicated funding for the Anacostia BID, DC's official arts and culture district, and to share how the Anacostia BID and its village model have directly supported my journey as an entrepreneur growing a professional business in the city. Starting and growing a communications and digital strategy business requires access to people, information, agencies, and opportunities. And the Anacostia BID Village has not only guided me in the right direction, but also proactively walked me through the process. They connected me directly with key partners, including the Department of Small and Local Business Development and others, enabling me to build a strong and relevant business contact list across the district. But what really truly makes the Anacostia BID Village unique under the leadership of Christina Noel is that its support goes beyond just introductions. If I don't receive a response, hit a barrier, or even or need some type of other support, they are here to step up and to help me identify other members in my village to keep things moving forward. That proactive, thoughtful, intentional, and ongoing support is rare, and it's vital for entrepreneurs creating sustainable businesses, not just launching startups. Thanks to the Anacostia BID Village, I have been able to position We8 Inc. as a growing communications and digital strategy firm serving clients across DC. With their support, I'm not navigating the system alone. I'm a part of an ecosystem that truly understands what small businesses need to succeed. The proposed boundary expansion is crucial not only for the community, but also for businesses like mine. As Anacostia grows, develops, and becomes more connected to cultural, federal, and innovation hubs, this expansion ensures that entrepreneurs like me grow along with it, rather than just trying to catch up later. It means increased visibility, stronger networks, and more opportunities to connect with partners, clients, and institutions that align with my work. The expansion also strengthens access to green space, cultural programming, and activated corridors, places where businesses like mine build relationships, tell stories, and engage authentically with the community. For a communications and digital strategy firm, being rooted in a vibrant, connected, and culturally rich district is not just meaningful, it is good business. Most importantly, the Anacostia Bid Village ensures that the area continues to evolve. Local and small businesses remain an integral part of the community. It supports long-term sustainability instead of short-term growth, and it ensures that entrepreneurs like me are not displaced by progress, but empowered by it.
Thank
I
you.
respectfully,
for your testimony.
yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Our next witness is John Pearson III. Good afternoon to you. You can begin your testimony. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is John Pearson III, better known as Crazy Legs. Hold on a second. My name is John Pearson III, better known as Crazy Legs, the king of the beat your feet dance style within go-go culture, and a proclaimed go-go legend and icon. I was honored with the mural in the Congress Heights community, celebrating my contributions to our go-go culture. With that gesture, it was much appreciated, but I grew up in the Anacostia neighborhood, which is the birthplace of the Beat Your Feet dance style and home of its originator, Marvin Slush Gross, and a hub for dance, art, and creativity. I represent Beat Your Feet and have helped shape and control this movement globally, inspiring dancers across continents and keeping Anacostia at the center of a worldwide cultural phenomenon. My parents' house on Nicholson Street, Southeast, now included in the BID expansion, has been a gateway for artistic dance expression for decades. Without any formal support, this space has organically inspired thousands of dancers and artists and performers worldwide, nurturing creativity and innovation directly from our community. Expanding the BID ensures streets and homes like my parents' home on Nicholson Street Southeast continue to receive resources and support for cultural programs, local artists, and dancers. This isn't just about infrastructure, it's about preserving and amplifying the heartbeat of Anacostia's creative culture. By supporting Bill 26-247, we protect the spaces where culture grows from the roots up, enabling future generations to thrive and keeping Anacostia at the center of global dance innovation. So I fully support Bill 26-247. Thank you.
And thank you for taking time to provide that testimony. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Our next witness is Paul Spires. Good afternoon to you. You can begin your testimony. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the council. My name is Paul Spires. I'm a DC native, father, husband, chairman of the ANC Community Outreach Committee for ANC 6A, Deanwood Heights Main Street manager, a teaching artist, tour guide, and the current Anacostia Senior High School alumni king. I'm a proud member of the ACEE Advisory Council. I'm deeply involved in the community, and I care a lot about the help or a lot about helping Anacostia grow in a way that supports our residents, our history, and our local businesses. I'm writing in strong support of the expansion of the Anacostia Business Improvement District, DC's official arts and culture district, and creating dedicated annual funding to keep this work going. The proposed expansion includes 11th Street Bridge Park, Anacostia Park up to Nicholson Street, and Sherwood Parkway, more of Berry Farms, and stronger ties to the Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. It will help connect the places where people already live, work, learn, and create. It will make our art and culture district feel more unified and accessible to everyone east of the river. I just want to speak from a cultural education point. In Berry Farms, we've been teaching go-go through Project Purpose, a nonprofit that was created in Southeast DC that serves Southeast DC, specifically Anacostia and in Berry Farms. We're going to be doing a masterclass next week, and this just proves that the beautiful things that we can do around culture and education, led by Anacostia BID, could be huge as we continue to shift the minds of our youth and our neighbors in Anacostia. This expansion brings more life and activity to our corridors by linking parks, public spaces, cultural spots, and local businesses. Growing the district through Anacostia Park will improve walkability, making public spaces safer through regular programming and tie together our riverfront neighborhoods in a way that boosts the entire community. I was recently able to do the participate in the tours through Events DC, their walkable or walking town tours this recent September. And we did a historic Anacostia go-go tour in the community. It would have been great to be able to expand that into Berry Farms, right? And so I'm looking forward to seeing what the council decides in this, because I think we all know it's time to continue the economic change in Anacostia, in and around Anacostia. Thank you guys so much. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. You had 3 minutes, and I appreciate your contributions to the hearing and your witness testimony. So thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
Our next witness is Ibijoke Akínbọ́lá.
And good afternoon, Chairman McDuffie and members of the committee. My name is Ibijoke Akínbọ́lá, and I'm honored to submit this testimony in strong support of the Anacostia Business Improvement District's proposed boundary expansion and the establishment of dedicated annual operating funding for the DC Official Arts and Culture District. I do so as a member of the ACE Advisory Council, as the principal of District Native Partners, and as a Ward 8 resident deeply invested in equitable community development, economic mobility, and cultural preservation. I've spent my career helping communities drive local economic growth, expand access to opportunity, and steward revitalization efforts that uplift longstanding residents. The Anacostia Arts and Culture District embodies this approach. It centers culture, identity, small business growth, and community wealth as core pillars, not afterthoughts of neighborhood revitalization. The proposed expansion, including the 11th Street Bridge Park, Anacostia Park up to Nicholson Street, and Sherwood Parkway, additional areas of Berry Farm, and deeper alignment with Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, reflects the true lived experience of residents who move across these spaces daily. This expansion strengthens corridor vibrancy, enhances public safety through consistent activation, connects cultural anchors and commercial corridors, increases opportunities for small business growth, elevates Anacostia as a destination for arts, culture, education, and entrepreneurship. Given the historical role of the 11th Street Bridge as a racial and economic barrier, its integration into the Arts and Culture District represents a meaningful step forward, addressing spatial inequities and advancing place-based justice. By extending the district to include areas near Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, this expansion further aligns the community with major federal and military employment centers. Thousands of personnel move through the area daily. Formalizing these connections ensures that local artists, businesses, residents, and cultural organizations benefit from that proximity. The district's connection to innovation corridors, including the Bridge District and the St. Elizabeth's UCC campus, also creates a unique intersection of arts, culture, and technology. This collective approach represents comprehensive community change that uplifts without displacement. This is integral for preserving our communities. To fully realize the impact of this expansion, I respectfully request that the council allocate dedicated annual operating funding. District residents deserve a fully resourced arts and culture district that is not only established, but sustained. Consistent support will enable the bid to leverage federal, military, philanthropic, and private sector dollars. With intentional investment, this district will continue honoring Anacostia's cultural legacy while building a strong, resilient economic future for the communities east of the river. I respectfully urge the council to approve the boundary expansion and allocate annual operating funding for this vital work. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next witness is Maria Carolina Lopez. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. You begin your testimony. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Good morning, Chair and members of the Council. My name is Maria Carolina Lopez. and I'm the Chief Financial Officer and Associate Editor of Capital Community News. We publish the Hill Rag, Mid-City DC, and East of the River newspapers. I'm also served as a member of the ACE Advisory Council. Through my work in community media and direct experience supporting hundreds of local businesses, I see every day the tremendous value the Anacostia BID provides. Their works create visibility, opportunity, and stability for most businesses that often operate with limited resources. The Anacostia BID invests in year-round marketing and storytelling through local publications, advertising campaigns, and the widely used Mar2Go publication uplift our shops, restaurants, and services while celebrating the cultural and historical identity of our neighborhoods. The impact is measurable. During BID-led events, businesses report up to 70% increase in customer activity, showing how coordinated outreach and positive promotion directly drives foot traffic and sales. As a publisher, we see firsthand how visibility changes outcomes for small businesses. I'd like to share a single powerful example. A local salon owner placed a hiring ad in the Art2Go Go publication, one of the BID supported publications, and a job seeker walked next day holding the publication, applying specifically for that ad, like for that job. So that's real tangible economic impact, the kind of connection small business cannot create on their own. Beyond marketing, the BID provides support to the community events and steady outreach, help anchor businesses and strengthen the local community. For many East of the River establishments, this provides structure and resources that would not otherwise have. Expanding the BID will allow more businesses to benefit from coordinated services, safety initiatives, marketing support, and community building programs, tools that other commercial corridors across the district already enjoy. For us who work, publish, and operate in East of the River, this expansion represents fairness, opportunity, and a clear commitment to strengthening the economic foundation of our neighborhoods. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. We really appreciate it. Our next witness is Desmond Barnes. Good afternoon to you. I'm sorry, Kelly Whittier was mentioned, and I think I skipped over it inadvertently. Kelly Whittier.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Councilmember, Chairman McDuffie, and committee staff. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in strong support of B26-247, the Anacostia Business Improvement District's Amendment Act of 2025. My name is Kelly Whittier, and I'm also a member of the Anacostia BID's ACE Advisory Council, and I also serve as the Director of Public Affairs at the Humane Rescue Alliance, which is proud to have joined the Anacostia business community with the recent expansion of our community medicine program and the opening of a pet resource center at 2301 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast. With plan to expand services in the upcoming year, we are proud to provide accessible veterinary care for thousands of loving pet owners in Wards 7 and 8. And due to the dual nature of my position on the ACE Advisory Council and HRA's investment in the Anacostia community, I'm very excited about legislation to strengthen the economic opportunity, reach, and historic impact of the Anacostia BID. In 2022, Mayor Bowser officially designated the Anacostia Arts and Culture District, recognizing the area as a historic cornerstone of cultural identity, creative expression, and critically, economic development in the district. The proclamation makes clear that thriving arts and culture ecosystems are powerful drivers of local business activity, tourism, job creation, and neighborhood investment. Just 1 year later, the mayor issued a proclamation celebrating the Arts and Culture District, outlining the many successes of the Anacostia BID, and quite plainly, in the short years since, the BID and its mission has far outgrown its footprint. Expanding the boundaries of the BID aligns directly with the initial and continuing vision for economic development in Ward 8. A stronger, more connected BID will help steward and sustain the Arts and Culture District, attract new businesses, visitors, and reinforces the vibrancy that residents, entrepreneurs, and community partners have been building for years. This is not just a boundary change, it's an opportunity to match the BID's footprint to the reality of how the community uses and experiences this corridor today, to close the gaps in the creative economy that can and should be addressed by the experts and organizers within the community, and certainly led by the Anacostia BID. HRA has chosen to make Ward 8 our long-term home. We made this investment because we believe deeply in the neighborhood, in its future, and supporting families and animals, and in contributing to the growth and vitality of its business corridor. We have seen firsthand the momentum building here, and the Anacostia bid and its leadership is at the heart of that progress. The bill is an expansion of boundaries, but as an arts and culture district, it is also a commitment to the arts. It importantly recognizes artists as valuable business partners. Thank you so much for your time and leadership on this bill, and thank you for your continued commitment to the growth of the Anacostia bid.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your time and your testimony this afternoon. We really appreciate it. It's good to see you too.
Thank you. So nice to see you. Apologies for my
No worries. No worries. Also, we have Desmond Barnes. Thank you for your patience. You can begin your testimony. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, good afternoon, Chairperson, Chairman McDuffie, and members of the committee. My name is Desmond Rolock Barnes. I'm also known as DB Bantino. I serve on the ACE Advisory Council. I'm a music producer and artist from Washington, D.C., and I come from a family deeply rooted in the community. My grandparents, Calvin Rolock, and former Ward 8 Councilmember Wilhelmina Rolock, spent their lives building up Anacostia through journalism, public service, and cultural leadership. And that legacy is why I'm here today. I strongly support Bill 26-0247. The current bid boundaries do not match how people in Anacostia actually live, move, or create. Expanding the district to include 11th Street Bridge Park, Anacostia Park up to Nicholson Street, Berry Farm, and connections to Joint Base and St. Elizabeth's allows us to build unified arts, culture, and economic ecosystems that finally reflect our real community. As an artist and educator, I see every day how creative industries open doors into tech, media, entrepreneurship, and new career paths for young people. This expansion, paired with stable and annual funding, will support small businesses, activate public space, increase safety, and keep opportunities rooted east of the river. It will also help Anacostia attract long-term investments, boost foot traffic to local businesses, and ensure major public assets like the Bridge Park truly serve the people who live here. For me, it is about honoring the past and investing in the future. I urge the council to support the bid expansion and ensure the resources needed to make it successful. Thank you for your time.
And thank you so much for your testimony, a fitting end to today's hearing. I don't have any questions for our witnesses. I do appreciate each of our witnesses' time and testimony today on all the bills that we covered, including Bill 26-173, the Architect and Engineer Good Samaritan Amendment Act of 2025, Bill 26-254, the Contractor's Right to Stop Work for Non-Payment Amendment Act of 2025, Bill 26-421, the Soul of the City Business Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025, and then finally, Bill 26-247, the Anacostia Business Improvement District Amendment Act of 2025. Again, I want to thank all of the witnesses, both public and government, who testified on the measures on our agenda today. As a reminder, those interested in submitting written testimony, and we encourage everybody to do so, but those interested in submitting written testimony for the record may do so until 5 p.m. on Monday, December 8th, 2025. Submissions should be uploaded via the hearing management system on the council's website at dccouncil.gov. There being no further business before the Committee on Business and Economic Development, this marks the end of today's public hearing. The time is now 12:40 p.m. and this hearing is adjourned.